AK-47, the very best there is. When you absolutely, positively got to kill every motherfucker in the room, except no substitutes.
You want burgers, hot dogs, some chicken, and ribs. Yeah! Yeah! Yeah!
So how long is Across 110th Street going to be stuck in your brain for the next, like...
I don't know. How many times a day are you going to fucking play it?
I'm sorry. That has been the soundtrack of my life. Each time we do one of these movies, I always play the soundtrack just because it's like, that's what I'm doing.
No, I get it. But listen,
Okay.
We were in the car together 3 times today, right? We listened to that song like 16 times.
It doesn't get old to me.
It doesn't get old.
You know?
And I belt it out every time, but it's stuck in my fucking head.
Because it's Bobby Womack. I was the third brother of 5. Barely did enough to survive.
You don't even know the words, and you listen to it 700 times.
Yeah. Not saying what I did was all right. Living in the ghetto is a day-to-day fight. Across 110th Street. Anyway. Someone was just like, all right, I guess this isn't the podcast for me. They just turned it off. Welcome to Night of the Motherfucking Horror File. Motherfucker is said like 40 times in this movie today. But anyway, welcome to Night of the Horror File, a podcast where I take a horror movie or genre film or just whatever fuck we want to watch and show it to my beautiful wife, Brittany, who gives us her input on all the goings on. We are, it's Christmas time. Sort of. Not that we really want it to be.
That's how I feel about Christmas
That's how
time.
Brittany feels about Christmas. She's going to belch into your ear.
Hey, I did it kind of away from the microphone.
It's better than what most people deal with on Christmas. But yes, so we're doing a Tarantino Christmas, which I think is off to a good start. How you doing so far? I know this is just our second movie.
Well, I'm having a grand old time.
I don't know what this is. It's like we did this type of thinking outside the box at just the right fucking time.
Oh my God, yes.
It's been a goddamn blast. We have not had this much fun in a while.
No.
Like, I don't know. Maybe it's indicative of what Tarantino can do to you during a movie because...
that sounded very weird.
That's true.
What Tarantino can do for
I love the man, but I'm not attracted to Tarantino.
He's not a very attractive man.
No. And he's fine.
Yeah.
It's just not my type, I guess. Welcome back to A Tarantino Christmas. Today, we've taken a slight chill pill and toned down a bit from last week's explosive Pulp Fiction. Oh my God. Go listen to that episode if you haven't listened. We spent like 3 hours discussing Pulp Fiction, man. That was a great time. But that's right. We are talking the wonderful hangout movie and nod to blaxploitation flicks that is Jackie Brown. I think first it's important to point out that Jackie Brown itself is not a blaxploitation film, but it does celebrate them. Now, after the insane success and pop hit that was Pulp Fiction from '94, Tarantino wanted to avoid the early successful director mistake of just making the same movie over and over again. That can happen. I've seen that happen quite a bit. See, people at the time were watching him close, kind of expecting him to fall on his face. The man just put out 2 super successful movies.
Right.
Reservoir Dogs, even though it people don't hold it to high esteem like Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs is just in the same category. It's the same amount of success that catapulted him into the thing. So like people are waiting, well, he can't keep this going.
This momentum.
Yeah, he can't keep this momentum going. So people are waiting for him to fall on his face. But in true Tarantino fashion, he did things a bit different this time with his third film, which is probably the best thing he ever did.
Oh, yeah.
Quentin and Roger Avery had acquired the film rights to Elmore Leonard's novels Rum Punch, Freaky Deaky, and Kill Shot.
Freaky Deaky.
Yes, Freaky Deaky. I'll talk more about Elmore Leonard in a sec, but like Elmore Leonard is like the Quentin Tarantino of novels. Like if you guys enjoy what you see on Tarantino stuff, go read Elmore Leonard because like Well, first of all, this movie is basically Elmore Leonard and Quentin Tarantino had a baby.
Okay.
And that's what we get here because they are the perfect pairing, you know. In fact, I'd say 50% of this is Quentin and 50% of this is Elmore.
Okay.
Anyway, Tarantino wanted to do either Freaky Deaky or Kill Shot, but upon revisiting Rum Punch, which was a favorite novel when he was a kid, in fact, I think he stole it from like a dime store when he was young, he fell in love with this thing all over again and decided to adapt that story into what we have today. Now, Kill Shot, by the way, was adapted into a film by producer Lawrence Bender. John Madden directed that flick, and it starred Mickey Rourke and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It came out in 2008. I think it's a good sleeper movie. Like, not a lot of people talk about it. It went straight to video. Same thing with Freaky Deaky. 2012, it went straight to video. So those are out there if you want to go check them out. Now, the trick was to adapt Elmore Leonard's novel into a Tarantino film. You know, you're thinking, you see the Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. You're thinking, how is this guy, this person who's an auteur in the 90s, which we've discussed what auteur means, right?
Maybe.
Okay, an auteur, just in a quick definition, an auteur is basically Quentin Tarantino.
Okay.
You watch a Quentin Tarantino movie, you know you're watching a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Okay, I got you.
You know, you watch a Martin Scorsese movie, you kind of know you're watching a Martin Scorsese movie. Those later movies get a little run together, but you do kind of know when you're watching that. So that's kind of the mark of an auteur.
Okay.
Quentin Tarantino more than Martin Scorsese, though. But yeah, so how does he adapt someone else's writing into his own style? Like, that seems super difficult to do and do it justice. You know, the humor, the dialogue, all of Tarantino's signatures are here. And of course, one of the biggest changes that he did, you know, was to make the main character herself a different kind of a different person than what she is in the novel. See, in the novel, she's a blonde white woman. Named Jackie Burke, and in this he changed he changed the character into Jackie Brown, a black woman, which would come to be what the screenplay would be titled, Jackie Brown. Okay. Now, Tarantino was kind of freaked out to discuss this with Elmore Leonard, so he waited till the absolute last minute, you know, until filming was about to start shooting, to sit down with Leonard. He was like, you know, I was really afraid, you know, of what you might think to the changes I made and stuff like that. And Elmore Leonard was like, no, you were afraid I'd be mad that you changed her to a black woman? I love that response because you're like, he's probably thinking, Jesus, what do you think I am?
Right.
But because that's basically, if you read, this is one of Elmore Leonard's books I have read, is Rum Punch. I haven't actually, you know, I'll tell the truth, I haven't read much of Elmore Leonard. Just Rum Punch I have read, and it really is close to what that book is.
Oh,
like,
that's cool.
It's dead on close, just a few changes here and there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because first of all, and I'll talk about it in a little bit, Rum Punch is actually a sequel to a book called Switch.
Okay.
But there is a reason why it does kind of feel like a sequel to something. Yeah. Which, that's not a negative. But anyway, Elmore Leonard fucking read the screenplay, sat down with it, and he felt it wasn't just the best adaptation of his work out of 26 screen adaptations, but possibly the best screenplay he had ever read in his life.
Oh, wow.
Is what he told Tarantino, which, of course, Tarantino is probably fucking over the moon. Right. This happens so many times to Tarantino where his heroes will sit there and give him fucking just praise. And I'm like, could you fucking imagine that? Right. Could you imagine every one of your heroes just being like, wow.
Right. Oh my God.
That's so crazy. But so with lots to talk about, let's dive into 1997's Jackie Brown.
So we first meet Jackie. You
know.
And then she shoots you in the face.
I would be so happy if Pam Grier shot me in the face. Yes, Miss Grier. But Elmore Leonard was an amazing writer, you know, if I haven't talked about him enough already. And even if you've never heard of him, you've definitely seen an adaptation of his work. 52 Pickup with Roy Scheider, Get Shorty with Danny DeVito and John Travolta, 310 to Yuma, the Glenn Ford film, and the Christian Bale movie, Justified with Timothy Olyphant on FX, and of course today's feature. Now, I'd heard that Tarantino also optioned his novel 40 Lashes Less One, but I'm not sure where that is or if it will come to fruition. I mean, he has one movie left, you know, in his in the bank, you know. He said he said he's going to do one more movie and then that's it. So it would be interesting if he did another Elmore Leonard novel, you know, as his last. That'd be kind of neat. Elmore Leonard actually passed away in 2013, sadly. You know, that's when we lost him. But we will discuss Tarantino's many talked about projects that never came to fruition during our 2-part miniseries. There is a lot of them.
Okay.
I mean, he was attached to do a Star Trek movie at one point. God. Yeah, there's a lot. But I'm mentioning all this so listeners have someone to go read after this. You know, look him up. I'm still digesting his other writings, you know, along with you. So it's just a new writer to throw upon people who like to read.
So we first meet Jackie as she's going from one flight to another, and the flight she is about to get on is to Mexico.
Right. Now, so a little random stuff here. Right off the bat, I'm going to do some stuff that has it has something to do with this, but it's just nobody needs this. But Danny DeVito might be in this movie for a split second.
Okay.
Now, during this opening scene, there's a small guy in a hat walking behind Jackie Brown. Now, we didn't talk about it last week because I kind of saved it for the here. But Danny DeVito was a producer on Pulp Fiction. He started Jersey Films, which I mentioned when I talked about how they got Pulp Fiction off the ground.
Oh, yeah.
He co-founded Jersey Films in 1991, and the company really helped Pulp Fiction get out there. Plus, he played a role in Get Shorty in 95, which is another Elmore Leonard property. So it would kind of make sense if he did a short cameo here.
Right.
So Danny DeVito might be at the beginning of this. And I say might because I could not find if it's confirmed anywhere.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. But this opening scene, first of all, I mean, holy shit. There are so many scenes in this movie that are just like, whoa. Because when you hear people start talking about Tarantino, you know, what typically comes out of their mouths? You know, what's the typical first movie that pops out?
Probably Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, Pulp Fiction. And maybe the newest one, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or Kill Bill. Kill Bill's always the big one people bring up. And I love all these movies equally. But to me, Jackie Brown does not get enough credit for the work he does in this fucking movie. And I'm not just talking about Pam Grier being beautiful. That's in a bit. I'll talk about that. But the way the credits go. And she's riding this moving walkway by these walls, which almost look like the color pattern of the movie is being displayed to you. It's I don't know. It's kind of like The Graduate, if you're familiar with that movie. And I know you aren't. The Graduate.
You know I'm not.
Yeah,
is that what you said?
Yeah. But The Graduate with Dustin Hoffman, it kind of looks almost exactly like this because in that movie, Dustin Hoffman is riding the moving platform, listening where Simon and Garfunkel is serenading us over the credits. But in this, you have the fiery, soulful hit Across 110th Street by Bobby Womack. That song comes from the film of the same name, starring Anthony Quinn and Yaphet Kotto, which begins the first in our many nods to the blaxploitation era. When I say blaxploitation films, like does anything come to mind for you?
Well, no.
No. I'm sure some of our listeners get that, but blaxploitation films, they were basically the ethnic subgenre of exploitation films during the early 70s and some into the 80s and 60s, you know.
Just all of them.
Oh, there are still really good blaxploitation films being made now. Now, blaxploitation can be seen as a bad term and a good term. Okay. It just depends on what you're discussing. And I know, you know, I'll go ahead and say it now. A lot of those blaxploitation films really did kind of throw a lot of the harmful stereotypes into the public about black people.
Right.
So that did that a lot, which by the way, you guys, we're going to discuss race in a particular word today. We're not going to say that particular word because we're not stupid. Right. Like you can talk about it without saying it. I don't understand these people who are like, oh, well, how am I supposed to have a meaningful conversation about it if I can't say it?
Oh my God.
Why are you so concerned with that? Why are you
so mad?
Why do you want to say it so bad?
Right.
But anyway, back to blaxploitation movies. Those films in which Jackie Brown celebrates, the music you hear and the subtle lines spread all throughout this movie are all nods towards the subgenre. It seems like blaxploitation kind of gets forgotten these days. You see these people buying up these boutique labels and stuff like that from the shitty movies from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Almost barely any attention is paid to the shit in the 60s and 70s, which I consider that the best of cinema. That's when the best stories came out. The 80s is just kind of copying it with more gore.
Right.
That's what always felt to me, because I mean, in the 70s and 60s and stuff, you had Foxy Brown, which Pam Grier again. Foxy Brown is like my favorite Pam Grier movie. And Coffee. I think Coffee and Foxy Brown are tied for first there. Not a lot of people talk about those though, except for me. Brittany has been having a hard time because every time we take car rides, I'm throwing on like Superfly by Curtis Mayfield or fucking Isaac Hayes is on the radio, and you're like, what are we listening
What are we
doing?
to?
Every time we drive to the fucking supermarket, it sounds like we're about to like get in a car chase.
You know what? It makes you happy. It makes me
extremely happy. I've been digesting these movies all fucking like week, like just to get prepared for this, because obviously, how do you talk about Jackie Brown without talking about those? Because like I said, it's a celebration of it. I don't want to get you guys wrong where you're like, oh, so is blaxploitation just like Jackie Brown? It's not.
Okay.
It's absolutely not. This is not the same thing. Jackie Brown is what it is, and blaxploitation is a whole separate thing. Go check them out though. Like most of these movies are free on Tubi, which is crazy. And I grew up watching these movies, which kind of surprises people.
Right.
Because like you would think I didn't grow up watching like The Mac or like I said, Superfly, you wouldn't think that. But when I first saw them at a young age, I didn't see the harmful stereotypes.
Right.
Really. I more saw like powerful black icons. And these heroes who were just like people who had the, right the wrongs and fucking get revenge and stuff like that. Or, hold up justice. Fred Williamson and Richard Roundtree are just as big for me as Arnold and Stallone. Getting to a point in my life where I'm discussing movies more and more with people. But like, they don't like discuss Richard Roundtree or anybody like that, or Pam Grier isn't on the tip of their tongues. It's very odd to me. Off of blaxploitation for a minute, I could talk about that for ages, but I feel like Jackie Brown is more of a hangout movie, meaning a movie where you just hang out with these characters. And I think we talked about this recently.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I feel like a lot of people probably complain about like, I don't know how to explain it. How did I explain this on the Shooting the Shit episode? Like you're just hanging out with them. There's a story around all of this, obviously, but the way that they tell the story in their everyday lives from their point of view is just, I don't know. It's awesome. You're getting to know them from their point of views, but it's not like crazy. Nobody else is telling you the story except for them.
Yeah, because Pulp Fiction was kind of like that.
Yeah.
In a way, but at the same time, you're getting thrown all over with that non-linear storytelling. But this is kind of linear up until like a couple of scenes at the end, because I don't think Quentin Tarantino could help himself. But
Yes.
but no, like you have a set of characters here who are just so charismatic and fun to be around. I compare like even Ordell and Lewis later on, I compare them to that one friend who's just a piece of shit, but he's so fun to be around, like to you, because he's not doing anything wrong to you, but he's so fun, and you'd have so many colorful characters, but you also have these long, we could very well, this could very well be just a straight to the point kind of plot-driven movie.
Oh yeah.
Tarantino could definitely do that. But like what he does here is he drags it out a little bit more for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He sits you in these scenes where these characters are just discussing things. And yes, their dialogue does push the plot along. But at the same time, they're also talking about random bullshit. But while they're doing that, you're getting a sense of who these characters are.
Right.
Just like Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro barely speaks a line in this fucking movie.
Yes.
But by his actions and the stuff he does and the stuff he does say to people, and just by just little things that he does, you get a complete feel for this character. He's completely fleshed this character out.
Right.
Which this being based on Rum Punch, which is a sequel to a book called Switch, that would not make any sense. Why would you make the sequel before the
Right.
Like it's crazy because like by doing what he does in this movie, you don't need that first book to understand these characters.
No.
Tarantino compared this movie rightfully to the 1959 Dean Martin John Wayne flick Rio Bravo. Again, you guys get your pens and papers for these episodes. Like I'm going to be rattling off some movies that you absolutely must see. Rio Bravo is one of them. Rio Bravo is like a Western hangout movie.
Okay.
It's just like this kind of only in the West, and it has Dean Martin and John Wayne.
That sounds cool.
It's so different from the normal Westerns. And those are the Westerns I really like, is the ones that are way different. You know, like I love The Magnificent Seven. That's a wonderful fucking movie. But I like The Wild Bunch even better. Or Django, you know, by Sergio Capucci. I like that even better. Like, because it's just weird and it's different.
Yes.
They do different things. Spaghetti Westerns, all of them are good. Like, watch all those. But
are those the same thing as? Sorry, are those the same things as
Jump In.
hangout movies?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, not really. The other ones are just spaghetti westerns. But
okay.
But Rio Bravo is definitely a hangout film. In fact, like basically, a hangout movie is definitely a movie that really, really gets better with multiple watches.
Okay.
Just like Jackie Brown. I know you like Jackie Brown right off the top. I mean, we'll talk about your thoughts later on.
Yeah.
The more times you watch this movie, the more it grows on you, and you fucking absolutely love it. Same with Rio Bravo, because you have these thoughts, you know, when you're watching these things for the first time, you're kind of like, you know, what are we doing?
What is happening?
Yeah, where's the plot? Why are we just doing all this hanging out? Like we sit with Bridget Fonda and Robert De Niro for a good 10 minutes smoking weed.
Right. For a long ass
time. But the more and more you watch this, it gets so good.
So now we meet Ordell and Lewis. They are talking about guns, just shooting the shit about guns. And we get this really long foot shot of Melanie's feet.
And you got to love the fucking videotape they're watching, which, by the way, the videotape, if you have the DVD, the 2-disc special edition, this whole videotape is on there for you to watch.
Did they make this for the movie?
They made it specifically for the movie, which, again, I would say this is probably Tarantino's most realistic, like, down-to-earth movie. Mm-hmm. But it's like he snuck this in just to make it even like just to get some more of that exploitation in there, because it's just a bunch of bikini clad supermodels like shooting off guns. Yes. And this serves as a way for Ordell to sell his guns to people.
Yes.
Like these little fucking videos. It's like a brochure.
So Lewis and Melanie start talking, and he says that he had just got out of jail 4 days ago, or prison 4 days ago. He was there for almost 4 years for bank robbery. And then a man named Beaumont calls Ordell and tells him that he's in jail for driving drunk and having a gun in the car.
Wait, fucking Beaumont.
Dumbass.
Man. Fucking Beaumont. We'll get to poor Beaumont here in a minute. I gotta say, would it truly be a Tarantino movie without a lingering shot of Bridget Fonda's feet?
No. They're not even the prettiest feet.
Yeah, but they're feet. To me, and I'm sorry, you guys, but yes, every episode I'm going to talk about feet for a length of time. But to me, feet are like boobs, you know?
Okay.
Like, you know, not every pair of boobs is the best boobs, you know? It's fine. They're all beautiful. And you want to see them all. Like, that's the thing. Like, everybody wants to see boobs.
Yeah.
You want to see some boobs?
Yes.
Yeah. Even if you know, you might not want to see them. You're kind of like, yeah, I'll see those boobs.
Right.
Same with feet for me. They may not be the great feet, but I'll look at them. I'll look at your feet. It's fine.
Please, like, send me DMs of your feet. Not if you're a man.
I mean, no. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It's like, it's the opposite, you know, even though I'm attracted to men and women.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't like dude feet. Female feet, you know?
Female feet only.
Female feet only.
I feel like this is like an ad.
Welcome to female feet only. There was never anything like that, like growing up, you know, those sex lines. There was none of that. There was no feet lines, you know.
Well, because you can't see them.
You do. Call up and you'll get to hear my feet do sexy things. All it is like, those are my toes.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. But again, though, we have the amazing Samuel L. Jackson, which it's a role that he has said it's one of his favorite characters he's ever played.
Oh, yeah.
And he's having a fucking blast in this fucking movie. I love it when you can tell Samuel L. Jackson's having a damn good time. You know, that's how you know a movie's going to be good. If Samuel L. Jackson looks like he's having a good time, this is going to be a good movie. But he's playing Ordell Roby. Now, Jackson had to get to know our lovable street smart criminal here. I love Ordell as a villain, you know, even though, like we've talked about before, Tarantino characters are very complex, you know, they're complex people, you know, there's really no clear cut villains or clear cut heroes of this.
No, there's always two sides.
Right. Because even Jackie Brown herself is stealing money from this guy. She didn't earn it. She doesn't technically deserve it. Like, but you know, that's just what she's got to do what she's got to do. And we'll get to Jackie. Yeah, we'll get to Jackie in a minute. Now, Jackson, like I said, he had to get to know this character. In order to do that, he read 2 of Elmore Leonard's books, Switch and Rum Punch. Ordell appears in both. Now, here, his whole attire and look is all from Jackson's interpretation of the character. The goatee, the long hair, the hats and stuff like that. That all came from Samuel L. Jackson. Now, opposite to Ordell is Robert De Niro. Academy Award.
You wouldn't think that they would just be in a movie together.
Yeah, especially this character, though, Robert De Niro's playing, because this is such a non-character for Robert De Niro to play. Yes. The powerhouse, Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, Casino. Like, you would not expect him to pop up like this. I don't think he did either, because apparently De Niro and him did not get along on set. De Niro and Tarantino.
Really?
Yeah, because, well, De Niro, you know, Tarantino had De Niro in mind when writing this character's dialogue and stuff like that. But he was like fucking scared out of his mind to approach Robert De Niro. Right. That's rough. Who at this time, like I said, was an Academy Award winner. And in 1976 starred in one of Tarantino's most favorite films, Taxi Driver.
Oh, yeah.
So nerves were fucking high. It'd be like if I had to approach fucking Joe Bob to be in my movie. I don't want to. Or if I had to approach Tarantino himself to be in my movie. Will there be feet? Like, no, Mr. Tarantino. Yeah. How many feet do you want, Mr. Tarantino?
4.5.
How many feet? A half a foot? Just do it.
We will make that happen.
Feet. Okay.
You come up to me. Okay, I need you to cut off your foot.
I'm going to need you to let Quentin Tarantino touch your feet.
Okay.
He promised me a foot rub, and I promised I wouldn't throw him out a window. But this is a good fucking month. This is a good fucking month. I'm having a great time. But yeah, so he was scared out of his ever-loving fucking mind. But when he finally got the courage up, De Niro already had a fucking copy of the script because Harvey Weinstein gave it to him.
Oh my God.
So he's sitting there shitting his pants. Well, at the same time, Harvey Weinstein already passed the script on to him and De Niro's already picking out his character.
Oh, shit.
Which is a problem.
Oh.
Because De Niro wanted to play Max Cherry.
Oh.
Who Max Cherry, you know, is the lead male in this movie.
Is he?
One of them.
I know.
That's the thing about Tarantino movies. He has the ability, and we'll talk about this a lot with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but he has the ability to get these powerhouse actors and have them share.
Yeah.
It's not like De Niro's like, that guy's an asshole or anything like that. De Niro's never said a bad word about him. But I think what also was the problem was Quentin Tarantino's not one to try to fucking be overbearingly directing a fucking insane actor.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Robert De Niro, who knows what he's fucking doing.
Yeah.
But so he also didn't give him much direction during this.
Well, I mean, did he need to?
Not really. And that's the thing is like this character doesn't need much direction.
Right.
And what you get to see is Robert De Niro at his fucking best. Like he does so much stuff with his body language and shit here that like he's in his own little thing. He's got his own little thing going. Like if you look in the background, here's Robert De Niro back there as Lewis just fucking getting coffee. Like he's got the cup in his mouth and he's stirring shit. And like, there's so much going on with this guy. And I'll talk more about him here in a little bit, but he did have a childhood favorite lined up for Max Cherry, who we'll get to.
Yes. Ordell and Lewis end up going to a bail bondsman to get Beaumont out. Max Cherry is the bondsman, and Ordell says that he has $10,000 as collateral in cash with him. And Max has a lot of questions,
Mm-hmm.
and Ordell doesn't have a lot of answers, but he's a very smooth talker. Because Max is like, okay, what's his name? And he says Beaumont. And he's like, Is that his first name or his last name? He's like, I don't know. Does it sound like his first name or his last name? He's just Beaumont.
You got to love Max Cherry here because he's like, I just want to do my job.
Right.
Like, I just want to do my job. Get this over with.
And he's not asking questions like, he's going to get anybody in trouble. He's just like...
No, because he even says later on, he's like, because Ordell's like, well, what does it look like I do? And he's like, well, I don't know. You're obviously into something and you're not getting caught. So more power to you.
He's the best.
Yeah. Well, and Max Cherry is this like very interesting person who also doesn't have a shit ton of lines in the movie.
Yeah.
But also it's just the way Robert Forster handles this character.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it so palpable. I mean, it just the relationship between him and Jackie Brown.
Yes.
It's not really spoken. It's not like we don't have like a long scene where they're fucking talking about, oh, I'm falling in love with you, or I keep thinking about you 24/7, or any of that bullshit that you get in these sappy kind of romance movies. No, they literally they kind of bond over being old.
Right.
Like, later on, they bond over talking about getting older, which is a huge theme in this movie. I'll get to. Forster and Grier were still acting. I don't want the listeners to come away thinking, they weren't acting until Tarantino got them. No, Forster was doing stuff. It was going direct to video mostly. Some of it was good, some of it was bad, but he didn't have anything, out there.
Right.
Same with Grier. She did some stuff direct to video, stuff like that. I think she did Bones with previous to this or something. But anyway, now Tarantino did have 4 choices in mind while writing this character. That was Paul Newman, Gene Hackman, John Saxon, and of course, Robert Forster. Those are the 4 top ones. So why did he decide to go with Forster, you might ask? Was it because he fits the exploitation style that this film is tributing? Well, yeah, kind of. Tarantino apparently one night watched the 1980 film Alligator, in which Forster plays an aging cop battling an alligator.
Oh, wow.
It's one of my favorite movies. It's an amazing movie. But in that movie, he, like I said, he's an aging cop, and Tarantino immediately knew he had his Max. I mean, there is lines of dialogue in this movie that I feel pays tribute to that character in Alligator, of the scene where Max is talking about him getting older and losing his hair and stuff like that. In Alligator, in the film Alligator, there's a running joke about his receding hairline in that movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's like, I did something about it.
Yeah. Now, Tarantino actually met Forster at a restaurant and handed him a script. And Forster said that, like, he was like, when Tarantino wants you in a movie, it's not like Hollywood shit. It's like just a person to person kind of thing. Like, it's normal people.
Oh,
talking.
yeah.
Forster even got an Oscar nomination for this role. Now, Forster, this isn't the first time him and Tarantino crossed paths.
Oh.
He had read for Reservoir Dogs. the Lawrence Tierney character in Reservoir Dogs. He had read for that before it went to Lawrence Tierney. And he also read for Christopher Walken's role in True Romance, which, again, went to Christopher Walken. So Tarantino's like, no, but I want to work with you.
Right.
Which I think, God, isn't that fucking amazing where you can work, where you make a point to work with your childhood heroes
Right.
as you're making movies. If you watch a lot of the behind the scenes when he talks about stuff like this, like talks about how he's getting to work with these people that he grew up watching on TV and shit like that, he's so fucking excited. He's like a little kid.
I was about to say a kid in a candy store.
Yeah, he is like a little kid. And from all reports, working on a Quentin Tarantino movie is a blast.
Do you think they're all really smoking weed?
We talked about this. I don't know. Like Tarantino's huge on detail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, we'll talk about the money in this movie is real later on. Like that's real money you see on screen. So he does pay attention to those kind of details. I don't know if they're really smoking weed. I think De Niro smokes weed in real life, and he's smoking more weed than anybody in this movie.
Well, I don't know.
Melanie's smoking so much goddamn. Bridget Fonda smokes so much goddamn weed. It's amazing that her character can still walk right. Which we'll get to Bridget Fonda in a minute, man. Her character. Woo.
So Ordell goes to see Beaumont later that night after he gets bailed out. And Wardell asks Beaumont to go on a favor with him. And he tells him that he is going to go some guns to some people and he just needs backup. But he wants Beaumont to get into the trunk of this car and to hold this gun.
Yeah.
And he says, when I open the trunk, you just point the gun at these people.
Yeah, you pop out and crack this motherfucker on.
And Beaumont's like, no.
No, I'm not laying in some fucking dark ass trunk.
And he's like, your dirty ass trunk. Oh my God. But
Yeah.
he does it.
Mm-hmm.
Because Ordell bailed him out of jail.
Yeah.
He gets in, and then Ordell ends up driving to an abandoned lot. He opens the trunk, and he shoots Beaumont.
Yeah.
Because he's afraid that Beaumont's going to be a rat.
Yeah, this whole sequence, though, it really explains who exactly Ordell is. In the end, he's all about self-preservation. This character is. We honestly never really get if he truly, genuinely cares for anyone but himself. I love there's moments at times when like Samuel Jackson's features change because like he puts on a facade throughout this entire movie. Ordell does as like this like kind of like know-it-all kind guy and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But then there's like moments where it just switches. It's really cool. But poor Chris Tucker here, man. Beaumont. This whole sequence, though, it's drug out from what's actually in the novel. The novel, it's kind of real quick. He just kills Beaumont and goes about. But this is like artful.
Oh, yeah.
This drawn out scene, this whole discussion outside Beaumont's fucking apartment, just talking about like this plan he has and stuff like that. And you really get Ordell has thought this fucking shit out of how to get him out here. To get him.
He's such a smooth talker.
Yeah, he's so good at it. He's manipulative.
Yeah.
Which is something that he'll meet his match with Jackie here in a little bit, and I'll discuss that. But like Ordell, he comes up with like talks about a lawyer he's going to get Beaumont. He's like, no, they're just fucking with you and shit like that because Beaumont is facing 10 years.
Right.
As Max Cherry said, he's violated his parole. This whole section though is it's almost a tiny movie in itself.
Yeah.
Just this one section is some of Tarantino's finest works. Chris Tucker normally improvises dialogue in his movies. I think Chris Tucker has not done that many movies,
right?
Even though it feels like we've watched Chris Tucker in a shit ton of movies. We really haven't,
right?
I think he did 5 movies after this, and a few before.
I've seen a Chris Tucker movie.
Friday.
No, I have not seen that movie.
I know, The Fifth Element.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, normally he does do a lot of improvising, but when he came to rehearsal and read through the screenplay and stuff like that, he told Tarantino, I'm not gonna. I might throw a couple lines in. He was like, but your shit's so good.
Right.
I'm just going to learn it. I'm going to say it exactly how you wrote it. And he does. He says it exactly how he wrote the part, except for a few lines.
Nice.
He kind of fills it in here and there, like when Ordell showed him the trunk and stuff like that, and he's telling him to get in, and he's like, you know what, you catch an inward off guard here with the shit. It's like, just shit like that he throws in. That's fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah,
because the humor's back here. That was present in Pulp Fiction and stuff like that.
Yes,
just his like lovely humor. Like it doesn't feel like the jokes play well and naturally. I think in a Tarantino.
Yeah, they're not staged.
No, because you'll watch a movie that's inherently a comedy.
Yes,
know? And you can tell when there's bits being played on you and stuff like that. And you oftentimes that shit either lands or it doesn't.
Right.
But this is like natural, like, I don't know. It's like a natural funny. Like there's really nothing funny about what we're seeing here.
Right.
But it's hilarious up until the point where fucking poor Beaumont gets blown away in the back of this trunk, which is a beautiful fucking shot. Man, a beautiful shot where you see Ordell get in the car after he loads up Beaumont. And then there's a crane shot that kind of like zooms out and you see him drive around the block while Strawberry Letter 23 is playing on the radio, by the way. He drives around the block and into that abandoned shit just right there.
Right.
And then he gets out and just blows him away in that trunk. The violence is here, but it's not as in your face as it was in Pulp Fiction.
Right.
Like, how did you feel about that?
I wasn't looking for an action movie.
Well, I feel like Tarantino did this as a response to those criticisms he had with the violence from Pulp Fiction. You know, we talked about that last week, about how so many people came down on him, and fucking Bob Dole came down about the violence in Pulp Fiction and the warping of the young people's brains and shit like that. It's like, well, who carded their like fucking minor to go see Pulp Fiction, first of all?
Right. Why are you doing that?
What are you doing? What are you doing? The way the violence is handled in this movie is a direct reaction to that. But we're back in LA, you know, from last week, which again, Tarantino has a way of showing different sides of the city in every movie. He could have very well just used the same locations he used in Pulp Fiction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he could have very well just kind of did the same LA that we saw in Pulp Fiction, but he doesn't. This is a whole different LA. It's like Compton and parts of those places. You know, it's a whole different side of the city itself. You know, which, you know, whenever somebody uses LA in their movie, it's always the Hollywood sign and like girls on the beach and shit like that. You don't really see that here.
No.
I mean,
which I appreciate.
Yeah, you do get to see the beach and stuff here and there, but it's more contained to Lewis and fucking Melanie hanging out in Ordell's place, you know,
which just happens to be shoreside.
Yeah. But still, the city though, it has its own character.
Yes,
kind of to it itself, which I love that each location has a feel to it.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, the mall. Oh my God.
Oh, the mall, man.
The mall.
How the fuck did Tarantino make scenes at a mall food court interesting?
Right.
He makes watching Max Cherry come out of a fucking movie and go to the food court to look for food interesting.
So Lewis is with a woman that is singing and dancing for him. And she isn't very attractive. I'm sorry.
Oh, Simone.
Simone, that's her name.
Which I don't know if you picked up on this, but you know, Ordell has a lot of girls.
Yes.
A lot of girls working for him. Yes. It's not known if they're sex workers or anything like that. I mean, maybe, but maybe.
They could just be Ordell's girlfriends.
They could be, because like, you know, he even says, you know, it's just some girls I set up with some places and stuff like that.
Right.
So we're with Simone in her place.
Well, Lewis doesn't seem very thrilled to be there.
Lewis does not seem thrilled throughout this entire fucking...
He doesn't seem thrilled to be alive. I think the thing is he doesn't know what to do because he just got out of prison.
And that's the thing. That's one of the things that about Lewis's character that's very interesting, is because you have a guy here that is adapting to the outside world while all this is going on.
Yeah.
You know?
And I don't think I touched on this, but Lewis and Ordell know each other from prison.
Yeah, they're former cellmates.
Yeah.
Which you can tell, like, Ordell sold him a bunch of shit in that cell.
Right.
You know, like, I love how earlier in the movie, And we'll talk about the aging aspect of this movie in a minute, which is a big theme here. I love at the beginning of the movie, he's sitting there rattling off all this shit about guns and shit like that, all this stuff that he knows. And Luce is just like, wow, he knows quite a bit. Then Melanie later is like, yeah, he just memorized that. He doesn't know shit.
He doesn't know anything.
Yeah, he knows just as much as guns as I know about guns. Which kind of hints you in that he has this facade about him. Ordell does. But
anyway, so Ordell calls to talk to Lewis and tells him that he is there to show him what he did. Mm. Ordell says that Beaumont would have been a rat, so he had to get rid of him. And then he asks Lewis if he goes in with him on the deal, then he knows what could happen. Basically saying, you go in with me, be partner with me, but if you rat me out, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, he's showing him what we already know by now. You know, I'm about self-preservation.
Right.
I don't have a problem with taking out anybody who's in my way. You know, he does that through his actions. Ordell has his own little like fucking sad part about him because really like he kind of hints at it at the beginning of the movie. Really, he's doing one big thing to get him out of this and to get him out of this life.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that brings me to the one thing that Jackie Brown deals with is aging. You have Ordell and Lewis as aging criminals fading into obscurity. I mean, the beginning of the movie kind of portrays this as Jackie is this 44-year-old stewardess just fucking getting to work.
Right.
Man, she's just trying to fucking get to work to get her $16,000 a year fucking job, you know, just to keep that, to keep some shred of dignity going here. So, so you have that. And then contrasting that, Lewis and fucking Ordell just hanging out on a couch talking about, you know what I mean?
Right.
They're just trying to get by. You know, everybody's trying to do that. Everybody's trying to get ahead in life as middle-aged.
Right.
You know, Ordell trying to run things in this old fashioned way. And you have Max and Jackie dealing with aging in their own ways. Max trying to figure out if he's too old to fall in love. Like that's one of his problems through this movie.
Right.
Like it even kind of fucks him over in the end of the movie. Sadly, man, that is a poignant ending and we'll get to it. But Jackie is looking to carve a better direction for herself in this machismo-filled world as a 44-year-old stewardess, whereas the opposite, Ordell is trying to pull off one big score so he can fucking retire. Like it's all admirable goals,
right?
You know?
Can we not say stewardess? Can we say flight attendant?
You don't say stewardess anymore?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. They say it in the movie, so I just went with it.
Well, that was 1997.
Okay,
so.
well, my bad, everybody. I'm sorry. Flight attendant. Flight attendant. I'm very sorry. I apologize.
I'm not trying to be weird.
No, it's fine. But like, it's funny. You know, another thing is we talked about how everyone had a problem with the whole glorifying crime and violence. And in Jackie Brown, though, it's kind of the complete opposite. Like it deglorifies this criminal life. Like all these people are trying to get the fuck away from this.
Right. Well, maybe not Ordell.
No, Ordell himself said he's trying to retire. He, you know, even though like $1 million, and I think Lewis even says it, he's like $1 million doesn't really buy much these days. Right. But he's talking about going to Panama, you know, living off his winnings here, you know, retiring and just spending. He's going to live like Elvis or some shit. And so like he's talking about getting out of this life. Lewis kind of looks bored with this. So he's probably trying to get out of this because it seems like all one big score for all these people. And then you have Jackie Brown, who's trying to get out of this because she's turned to running drugs for Ordell.
Right.
Or running money or whatever, you know.
Money.
For Ordell just to get by in life, you know, just so she can maybe get a little further. Mm-hmm. And so like everyone's trying to escape the criminal life here. Right. The only person who really has it good is Max.
Right.
Yeah. And the cops, you know, Michael Keaton's character and stuff we'll talk about in a minute, but he's the only one that really has it set out, you know.
So Jackie is at LAX going to her car and two men with the LAPD stop her and want to know what she has in her bag. She gives it to them and they find an envelope of cash. And they say she should go down and talk to them instead of going to customs, because it's going to be worse for her if she goes to customs, because she's got about $10,000 in her bag. Apparently, she's been in trouble before for smuggling in drugs from Mexico.
Yeah.
Then they ask her if she knows Beaumont because he knew her. And she isn't saying anything to them. And they're getting pissed.
Yeah. Which already shows you Beaumont was already talking.
Right. He was already being a snitch.
Beaumont was already fucking ratting everybody out.
Right. But they tell her that they want the big guy in this organization.
Yeah.
They don't want her. She's just some drug runner or money runner. They're like, whatever, fuck you. We want Ordell.
Yeah, they're trying to go after Ordell.
So they dig through the purse again, and they end up framing her with some coke.
Yeah, because
they can't really hold her on this $10,000.
Yeah, like, okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Did she, like, she obviously didn't know there was coke in this thing.
There wasn't.
No, did they put it there? Or
yeah.
Because Ordell mentions it later.
Because, okay, if you look, he's like, let me go through this again. Well, he's under the desk. He reaches in the desk and grabs this coke out.
Oh, okay.
And then he's like, what is this? There was no coke in there.
Okay.
There was no coke in there.
Which brings me, why did Ordell mention it?
Because he's not dumb. They framed her with that.
Oh.
He knew that Jackie didn't do coke, so it's not her coke.
Yeah.
His people didn't give her coke to transport across because they don't deal coke.
Yeah, they're doing guns.
They're doing guns and money.
Yeah.
That's it. They don't care about coke.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Because he also mentions that when he's doing his spiel towards Lewis about, like, you know, I make so much more with the guns than I did with the drugs and stuff like that. That's what they're really getting at. So,
and they can't hold her for $10,000. Like, she could have just had that. She could have taken it with her.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, people carry money. Like,
oh,
what?
Good point. Yeah.
And so they can't do any. They couldn't do anything without the coke.
Right. Okay.
They could question her. They could question her about the money, but she wasn't going to give anything away.
Yeah. Which you gotta love. You gotta love Jackie Brown here. Like, they're like, so you gonna? She's like, I'm not telling you a damn thing.
Right.
Like, she really locks down. I love it. But they end up getting her with the coke.
Right.
And yes, we have the incredible Pam Grier as Jackie Brown here. Now Tarantino had almost cast her as Eric Stoltz's girlfriend in Pulp Fiction. You know, that role that went to Rosanna Arquette.
Okay.
In Tarantino's words, he was like, no one's going to buy Eric Stoltz yelling at Pam Grier. Which is a perfect choice. I'm so glad he didn't go with that, because if I saw Pam Grier getting yelled at like tiny Eric Stoltz, like, nope, that's not how that works.
No.
I've seen Pam Grier blow someone's head off in a movie. This is definitely not how this is working. So he told her, you know, he was like, we're going to work together one day. You know, and bam, here she is, a Jackie Brown. Now, when she first came to his office for a reading, she met with him and noticed all over his office were posters of her earliest roles, Coffee, Foxy Brown, you know, a few other movies and stuff like that. He's a big Pam Grier fan.
Yeah.
You know, he's even said, he's like, this is the queen of women. Like Pam Grier. Yeah. And she asked, the first thing she asked was like, did you put these up for me because I was coming? And he was like, no, I was actually going to take them down because you were coming. Because he didn't want to appear to be the fanboy he really is. And honestly, he gets an amazing performance out of Pam Grier. I think possibly her best performance ever in a movie. She is so fucking good in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Jackie Brown as a character, she's got this like sweet nature to her, but she's also a badass in her own right.
Oh, yeah.
You know, even though, you know, you think me talking about her, you think Pam Grier is all over. If you haven't seen this movie, you'd think Pam Grier is all over this, like machine gunning people down or anything like that. But no, it's just the way she handles herself.
Right.
Like, she's very confident. She is a bigger manipulator than even Ordell.
Yeah.
Like, because Ordell, like I said, he puts on this facade and stuff like that and talks a big game. But in the end of the day, he kind of fucks, like, he's not as good as he says he is.
No.
Even though he puts together lays all these bricks out in place to try to get his big score. You know, he's still just, but Jackie Brown, on the other hand, she doesn't put up a facade. she is who she is.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So Jackie's in jail now, and then she goes to court, and her lawyer says that she is standing mute. And I had to look this up. It's the state of affairs that arises when a defendant in a criminal action refuses to plead either guilty or not guilty. When a defendant stands mute, the court will generally order a not guilty plea to be entered.
Isn't that no contest?
Yeah, I think so now.
Isn't that what you plea when you do that, where you don't plea?
I think so.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's the same thing. Well, she has like an egregious bond, right? Well, the judge is like, she's 44.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, no, I'm putting her bond at $10,000.
Yeah, yeah. Which, now I'd be an asshole if I didn't point out the late Sid Haig.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he plays the judge in this. He pops up in this fucking courtroom, and it's not the first time Pam Grier and Sid Haig have shared the screen together. Sid Haig usually played big, heavy bad guys in Grier's movies, some of them. And they were actually friends in real life and stuff like that. And so when she walked into the scene for the day and saw Sid Haig as a judge, a lawful character, Pam Grier burst out laughing. Like she laughs so fucking hard. And it's so funny to see them two back together again, but this time he's not the bad guy. He actually shows her some lenience, which is funny.
Yes. So Ordell is in the courtroom and he's watching this, and he immediately goes to see Max. He tells Max that he wants to transfer that $10,000 from Beaumont to Jackie.
Because what was it? Because Beaumont got his brains blown. Well, that kind of rhymes. Beaumont brains.
Max tells him that there's a few loopholes that he has to go through before he can get her out. And after a little arguing, Max agrees to help him because Ordell has the bond money. Right,
because he doesn't want to. Because he's like, well, if you have the 10,000, why do you need me? He was like, you got the money. And, Ordell lays it out, he's like, well, somebody comes walking in there with a fucking bunch of money.
They're going to question this. So Max goes to pick up Jackie, and it seems like it's a love at first sight.
Oh, it is.
There's even like a love song and everything.
It is a cool scene.
Yeah.
Man. It is a cool scene because, like, on one hand, you kind of do see Max's perspective. You're like, oh, he's fallen in love. It's love at first sight with Jackie Brown and stuff like that. But also you do get to see Jackie walking slow, walking to the beat of this song too.
Yes.
Oh man, Pam Grier. She's walking to the beat of this song. So you also have a viewpoint of her where it's like, oh, it's Jackie Brown. Like it's Pam Grier, coming out, like everything's okay. Like Tarantino said, when this movie came out, he kind of lived at the theaters that it was playing at. He would kind of go and watch the audience's reaction to the things. Oh, and he says it was kind of cool to watch people react to the love story of this part, but also to just Pam Grier coming out, and being in a movie after so long, not being on the silver screen and stuff. And people who are Pam Grier fans are like, oh.
Well, so they end up going to a bar, and they end up talking about Ordell and Beaumont, and she's just giving away everything, which is fine.
I love this scene too, because again, we're just doing a lot of hanging out, you guys.
Yes.
Now, most directors or writers adapting something like this, where you have a love story, because Jackie Brown is very much a love story. It's a poignant love story, and it's kind of almost a tragedy at the end of this. But like, it is a love story between two older people. Right. Jackie being middle-aged, and I think Max says he's like 56 or something, which
something like that.
I think that tracks too, because I think Robert Forster was 56 when they did this movie.
Oh, wow.
Normally what they would do when somebody adapted this, if somebody adapted this book today, I bet you $100 they would drop these ages down.
Oh, 30.
Yeah, 30, maybe late 20s or some shit. We would make it slick with these younger people. And I think that would be a mistake because you would lose that age thing in this movie.
Exactly.
Like I was talking about earlier, age plays a huge part on these characters, which also is why they're so geared towards doing this. You would think, well, don't they do anything else besides plot? But it feels like they're in a hurry because they are older. What Tarantino does, he keeps that age, and it's refreshing even today when you watch this, because you don't get too many love stories outside shitty made for TV movies where two middle-aged people are falling in love here. You know.
Right. That doesn't happen very often.
No.
So Max drops her off and Ordell shows up. He wants to know if she ratted on him. When he gets really close to her and puts his hands around her throat, she points a gun at his dick.
Yes.
And this gun she stole from Max. We get a little scene where she stole it out of his glove box. She says that he needs to listen to her or she's going to blow him away. She says she wants $100,000 in an escrow if she has to do any time for this crime.
Yeah.
He finally agrees and then he leaves. The next day, Max shows up and Jackie knows why he's there and he's there for the gun.
Yeah.
She ends up telling him about how she runs money for Ordell. And she says she isn't going back to jail or probation. She's like, fuck that. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, which it does bring up a good point. You know, I've seen a lot of people ask the question, does she really care for Max? Is she really in love with Max, or is she using him throughout this thing? Like, is she being manipulative towards him? Because she does play both sides here. She plays the cops and Ordell. Like I said, she is getting her score to get the fuck out of this shit.
Right.
Like, she sees her as soon as they fucking drop that they're looking for Ordell and they know all about this shit. She sees her way out.
Right.
You know, she immediately sees that.
She makes a plan and we'll figure it out the plan, but fuck.
It's good.
Right.
Like, she does good in this movie.
So she goes to see the detectives for the LAPD and she says she wants to go back to work and she wants to help them get Ordell, but she wants her job. And she's like, if I don't show up to work tomorrow, I'm going to get fired. It's
a poignant moment because it's like something, even if you're not 44, it's something we all fucking face. It's like, do I want to start over again? And she's like, I'm older now. Like, starting over for me is like whatever I get. And I think she says this, I might be paraphrasing, but whatever I get, that's it. That's what I'm going to be holding on to for the rest of my life, whatever shred I get out of this life. And so like that it's a very deep moment of this.
She's basically begging them. And she's like, I'll do whatever you want, basically.
Yeah.
Well, kind of.
we find out, you know.
Back to Melanie. She's at home getting high. By the way, she wears very little clothing through this whole movie.
Well, Melanie's a supermodel, and what Tarantino's going for is surfer girl.
She's
kind of shit.
Because Ordell keeps saying that she's my surfer girl.
Yeah, and she really does act like a surfer girl through this, because she has like this nonchalant attitude to everything.
Oh my gosh, I didn't add this to that first scene where we see her, but I'm going to tell it now because it's hilarious to me.
Yeah.
The phone rings and Ordell's like, are you going to get that? She's like, you know, it's for you. And he's like, just answer the phone or whatever. It goes on a little bit longer than that. So she goes over, she picks it up, she goes, hello, and she puts it down and she goes, it's for you.
Yeah.
She doesn't even listen.
Because when we meet her, she's been doing this for 15 fucking years, you know. She's been living off of men for 15 years and working them. She just knows what she's fucking doing and doesn't give a shit, which is really funny because we also hear about how she was in Japan doing this. There's a whole backstory where she was in Japan because she's like, I don't know. I didn't really know him that well.
Anyway, she's at home getting high. Ordell and Lewis come in and Jackie calls. Ordell says that he has to leave. So Melanie is left alone with Lewis. They're just chit-chatting, and then all of a sudden, she's like, you want to fuck? And he was like, yeah. So then they're...
Which, it's not even that. It's like they're talking about the Japan thing I just said, and she's like, so you want to fuck? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, sure.
And then it cuts to 3 minutes later, and he's finishing.
Which the one sex scene we've gotten this month so far is played for laughs, you know?
Oh, yeah. You know, he did 4 years in prison. He just got out. He's ready to fuck, okay?
And yeah. No, you're right. Because De Niro had, like I said, he has his own thing going on here with this character.
Right.
Having to adapt to the outside world. Again, you know, out of prison. He's learned, you know, you can tell by just looking at the actions this character does. He's learned some stuff maybe, but he's a bit wiser than maybe he was when he went in there.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's stoic through this movie. He's very stoic, but also there's a lot of wear and tear on his character.
Oh yeah,
like there's a lot going on here. He's almost kind of put upon, like through some of the scenes and stuff, and I think that's where that wear and tear comes out, where he's kind of second, like fuck, like that kind of shit. De Niro. I don't know why I'm about to mention this, but he has sex with Bridget Fonda here, right? He also in 1990 had sex with her aunt, Jane Fonda, in the film Stanley and Iris.
Nice. He just sexing everybody up.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not mad about it.
I don't know De Niro's whole thoughts about this movie because he's never said a bad word about this or anything, but this is so good. Like, this is some good fucking acting.
Yeah. Even though he doesn't say a lot.
Even though this is like almost a non-character, but in a Tarantino movie, a non-character is still a character. So you get this.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait until we get to the scenes later.
Oh, yes. Yes. Because if you're bothered by Melanie.
Oh, just wait.
Yeah, Lewis is even more bothered by Melanie. All right, go ahead.
So Ordell and Jackie meet up in a bar. She tells Ordell that she told the detectives she was meeting him there. And she has this whole plan. She's going to fly down once, get $10,000, and then bring it back. And then a second time, she's going to get his $500,000.
Yes.
She says she gives the $10K to one woman and then the half to another woman and trick the detectives. So basically, they're going to do 2 runs. I don't know if you caught this, but
No,
I had to watch it a couple times to understand. They're going to do 2 runs.
Right.
With one stage woman. Then when she has her second thing, she's going to give it to somebody else, but pretend to give it to the other woman. Anyway, I don't know. It's confusing to me for some reason. Typing it was very confusing.
He goes through a lot of little loops and stuff because this Jackie Brown is a low-key heist movie.
Yes.
So she has her plan and stuff. Now, we're not let in on that plan until the very end.
No. And Jackie wants 15%. Back to Melanie and Lewis. They sit down to talk, and Melanie wants to take the money from Ordell as soon as it gets into the U.S. because she's not. I mean, she's paid to live there or whatever, but I think she wants out. She's like, fuck Ordell.
Again,
I want to do something else.
Again, all these characters' motivations is just to get away from this life.
Yes. And she wants the money.
Yeah.
So she's going to steal it, she thinks.
She thinks. Which, Lewis is like, even though he kind of seems bored with a lot of this or something like that, or just trying to fucking float through this fucking life of being on the outside world, because a lot of this stuff is a mystery to him. But like, he's like fucking, he's protective over Ordell.
He's listening.
Yeah.
He's listening hardcore. And we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So Ordell and Lewis are at a bar talking, and Lewis says that he felt bad about fucking Melanie and he wants to know what Melanie is to him. And Ordell says that she's just some girl he has set up, and he has a few of them.
He's like, you did feel the proper amount of guilt after you fucked her.
Right. And Lewis says that he shouldn't trust her around his business.
And Ordell does not listen to him.
No.
That's one of the things that I think really gets Ordell in some hot waters, because he doesn't genuinely care about anyone's input. Even though, like, Lewis literally should be the brains of this. Like, that's the feeling I get. Like, yeah. Lewis likes him a lot. I don't,
and he's not looking to fuck him over, really.
No, he's the only one in this movie not trying to fuck him over.
Right.
And in the end, he fucks Lewis over, which is kind of fucked up. But like, what's crazy is, like, he just doesn't fucking listen to him, which he probably should have.
Oh, yeah.
So Samuel L. Jackson said there were several moments that got to him during filming. Not negatively, but just like hit him in the fanboy kind of thing. And one was here where he's doing a scene with Robert De Niro.
Oh yeah.
He was saying, like, he said that it dawned on him, holy shit, I'm speaking to Robert De Niro and it's my scene. I'm in a scene with De Niro. He was doing Samuel L. Jackson was doing like 5 movies around this time. He was doing a bunch of stuff. Like he was filming Sphere with Dustin Hoffman. Not a movie you have to watch. don't put your pens down for that one.
Okay.
It's not that great. Samuel L. Jackson's a joy in it, but that's it. But anyway, but he would shoot Sphere during the week, and he'd shoot Jackie Brown on the weekends.
Nice.
Yeah, so he was having a big old moment, because he like Tarantino is getting to work with his kind of like the people he watched in movies and stuff like that. Jackson and Tarantino, they kind of share a lot of commonalities. Samuel L. Jackson says, which is really fucking cracks me up. He said he's like, we're kind of like negatives of each other. He's black and they were both only children. They spent tons of their time kind of living in front of the TV and with movies. And so they share the same passions. In fact, one of their bonding moments was between takes. Tarantino walked in on Jackson watching some Kung Fu movies. So they just fucking started talking about Kung Fu movies and shit like that. And of course, the dialogue, the dialogue that Samuel L. Jackson has in these movies is fan-fucking-tastic. Oh, yeah. It's like the best shit ever. The stuff Tarantino writes feels like it's made for Samuel L. Jackson to say.
I would say that,
even before he's even cast Samuel L. Jackson in the role, and I know he has him in mind usually when he writes for him, but it's just like, it doesn't feel like a Tarantino line of dialogue when it comes from Samuel L. Jackson.
Right.
It's like they have some kind of weird like universal bond or something going on here when they work together. It's on fire. Which, by the way, he says motherfucker more times in this movie than any other movie he's been in. Like,
wow.
Yeah, he says it, I believe, like over fucking 36 times. And that brings us to another touchy point. There's also the N-word. He says it 36 times and 38 times, I think, in this movie. A lot. And it mostly comes from Ordell. Pretty much always comes from Ordell and maybe Chris Tucker's character and stuff like that.
Right.
Now that, of course, is always going to be a sensitive topic, but I said we discussed some of Tarantino's criticisms as we went through this month, and and here we are. The N-word is a tough criticism that Tarantino's had to face. Like I said, it's said around 38 times in this movie, which is the most it's ever said in a Tarantino movie up until Django Unchained and The Hateful Eight. To Tarantino, this is what he said in an interview once, and these are Tarantino's words, not mine, but he said, "The minute any word has that much power, as far as I'm concerned, everyone on the planet should scream it. No word deserves that much power." Now, I don't really agree with Tarantino's approach to that, but I do get his point. I don't agree with with how he defends why he would use it, because yes, that word does have a power, but you're basically saying like,
it's just it don't look good.
No. But I do get his point. What he's saying is like, once a word has that much fucking strength to where when a white man says it, it fucking can tear down people. What Tarantino's saying is like, if everybody was to fucking use it, if this word was normalized, it would lose its power.
Okay.
So I do get his point, but I don't necessarily agree with that approach.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't agree with that approach.
Right.
But now Spike Lee, director Spike Lee, he was the most outspoken against this when Jackie Brown dropped. And I love Spike Lee movies. Not all of them. Spike Lee movies are kind of hit and miss with me. He does really good stuff, though. He's had some really great movies. But I'm not sure if I agree with the fact, because what he kind of got to in some of his speeches and stuff, and when he talked out against this, is that because Tarantino is a white man writing these lines of dialogue and stuff, and since he's white, his characters shouldn't say it in the movies. Now, the problem with that, why I don't really necessarily agree with that, is because Spike Lee has made tons of movies where characters say the N-word, white or black.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So why does he have any room to talk?
I don't know. See, I don't necessarily agree with Spike Lee, but I understand his point. Like, I
Right.
kind of get his point. You see where I'm torn there?
Well, I see that, my take on it is Samuel L. Jackson can say it. Jackie Brown can say or not, you know what I mean? Pam Grier can say it. Nobody else needs to. Nobody else needs to. There's only white people. Nobody else needs to say that.
Yeah.
Like, if that's what they want to say and he wants to write it in his dialogue, those are the only people that need to say it.
Right. And I, like you look at Pulp Fiction, like you told me, you were like, should I have said something about the N-word usage in Pulp Fiction? Because, Jimmy uses it.
Yeah.
There's a whole fucking joke written about dead end storage in that movie.
Yeah.
And it is kind of a touchy subject, but at the same time, I don't know. Like, all these characters are bad people.
Right.
Especially in Pulp Fiction. None of them are good people.
Right.
In that movie. It's not, and no one in that movie you should look up to. Like, don't look at Pulp Fiction for role models.
Right. And I'm also going to give it a pass. This happened in the 90s.
94.
Both of these movies happened in the 90s.
It sounds rough to you guys because you're like, 90s?
Mm-hmm.
The N-word in the 90s? Yes, man.
Yes.
We live in the South. That's a thing.
In the South, most people that were using that as a slang and not just a negative word, just using it as a slang, didn't stop saying it until I'd say 5 years ago.
I stayed out of that. I did not use it at all because I remember white people being like, no, I said GA. I said GA, not GER. I remember that defense was fucking weird.
Yeah.
And that's the language at the time. We're talking about the language at the time.
Right.
And in further movies, he does that. He uses the N-word a lot smarter as we go.
Right.
Like Django Unchained. How are you going to do a movie that takes place in the horrors of Southern slavery?
Without using
the horrors, of pre-Civil War. Like, how are you going to do that without using that word? That's the language. That's the language at the time.
And I think that's way more acceptable because that was the time. That is what they did.
And you watched some of Django Unchained with me. I mean, you watched that movie. It's a fucking horror movie.
Oh, yeah.
So the N-word is not used in a lovely, like, slick, smooth way.
Right.
Like, it's almost uncomfortable at times.
Yes.
Like, especially like fucking, what's his name? Big Daddy. Don Johnson's character in that movie. He says it like, it gets you. Like, and I think as he moves forward, he uses it in a less slick way.
Right.
Because, yes, I agree. In Pulp Fiction, the N-word is used in like this slick, kind of cool, poppy way,
right.
Like just a bad word.
Right.
Like I said, I don't agree with Tarantino's approach to defending the reason why he does it.
Right.
But I do agree with his point. Now, Samuel L. Jackson, he defended this. He defended Tarantino during all this because and what he brought to the table as a defense for this, I do agree with, which I'll read his words. Did they have another name to call the black people they were talking about at the time? Jackson asks, he goes on to say, if you're going to deal with the language of the time, you deal with the language of the time. And that was the language of the time. Mm-hmm. I grew up in the South. I heard the N-word all my life. I'm not disturbed by it. And I definitely see his point.
Right.
Because it is, people just talked like this. Like
right.
Living in the South for some people is a little weird. But living in the South, like I hung out with a lot of black guys and stuff. That's predominantly who I hung out with. I hung out with black guys, the Mexican guys. That doesn't give me the right to say the N-word.
Right.
You know what I mean? That was definitely told that that's not what I get to say. Right. And I'm fine with it. Like I said, I don't understand these people who are just so fucking angry that they don't get to say it.
Right.
It's just one word in the English language you don't get to say, and I think it's perfectly fine. But that is how they talked.
Right. And that's how I see it is like I've said before on past episodes, and I'm saying now is this was the time. This is how they talked. Why are we going to shame them for something that happened fucking 20 years ago?
And again, in Jackie Brown, I think it's not used in it's just part of Ordell's language. Ordell is mainly the one who says it.
I guess after watching Pulp Fiction and then watching this, I didn't even hear it. I'm very desensitized to it.
Because that is who Ordell would be.
Right.
That is the way he would talk.
Right.
Like I said, I've hung out with people, not like Ordell. I'm not hanging out with fucking hardened criminals. But I have hung out with people who that's just part of their language. That's just part of their lingo. They get to say that. That's not you.
Right.
You don't get to fucking say that. And I think he really takes it to this movie, which is it's weird for like people to attack this movie specifically for it.
Because Pulp Fiction, I think they say it.
Pulp Fiction, it's even worse in that movie, even though they say it less. They do say it less.
I feel like they say it more in Pulp Fiction.
That's because you have so many white people saying it. That's the thing. It hits you in it hits you a certainly different way when it's coming from a white guy like Jimmy.
Right. Because when Jimmy says it, that's when it really sunk in. I was like,
ooh. Yeah, because and like I said, I'm not defending the way he uses it in Pulp Fiction. I just think that was Tarantino being slick and cool with it.
Right.
But like in Pulp Fiction, there's a whole joke. Like I said, based around the N-word, dead end storage. Right. There's a whole joke. Mm-hmm. But in this, it's just part of Ordell's language. I think Jackie says it once.
Right.
Like, and that's it. Like, that's where it's left.
And that's fine.
Like, Max Cherry isn't fucking saying it.
No. Oh, God, no.
The cops aren't saying it. Even the cops don't say it in this movie.
Right.
Which I think so far this month, this is the first movie we've had with cops.
There's actual cops.
Yeah, there's actual cops in this. So in the end, to me, like, I know how you guys could say, but Tarantino wrote it and he is a white man. I get, like I said, I get where you're coming from. But again, we're dealing with fiction.
Right.
I feel like it would be less genuine for him not to write the characters to say stuff like that what they would normally say.
Right.
Like I said, if he did Django Unchained and none of the white slave owners used that fucking word, it would be fucking weird.
Yeah. It would be weird because for that time, that's what they did. That's how they referenced them.
And it's not like in that, like I said, it's not like in that movie, he's dressing it up as some fucking cool thing that everybody's saying. Y'all should say this word.
Right.
But I do think in Pulp Fiction, he does. It's a little bit too slick for me. And I get why people would have a problem with that. But then again, I don't even know if Spike Lee watched Jackie Brown. That's another problem. Yes. Like that's another problem. It's like you should definitely watch these movies and really weigh them out for yourself before you attack them.
Right.
I think that's a huge problem. And Harvey Weinstein, as fucked up as a human being as Harvey Weinstein is, he did try to moderate a meeting between Spike Lee and Tarantino for them to talk, maybe bury the hatchet a little bit. But Spike Lee wanted nothing of it. He didn't want to fucking talk to him.
Okay.
So I'm like, come on, man. Anyway, like I said, in the end, this is fucking fiction. Let's just
right.
It's not like Tarantino's riding around calling people the N-word. To my knowledge, he doesn't do that. But if he did, then yes, we could attack him.
Right. Especially in 2021. Like, let's do that.
Yeah. Which he doesn't. I think I saw him marching in protests at one point. But anyway.
So Ordell and Jackie have a lunch meeting, and she wants to make sure that he doesn't send a crack whore to get the money. And it's funny because later on he does it. But anyway. So then he gets up to leave, and he sees Max walking through the mall. Well, then Jackie sees Max, and she calls him over. Well, Ordell stops to watch them because they're talking or whatever, and he's pissed because he's like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
Like, why are they talking? And Max tells Jackie that he's getting out of the bail bonds business.
Which a lot of people have said, why would he discuss getting out of the bail bonds? Because it's obvious that he's doing it for Jackie, like he's doing it because of that. And he's very confused because you stop and think like, has this guy ever experienced true love like this before? Has he ever been in love like this before? So he's acting a little silly. And I think Jackie, without telling him, kind of tells him, okay, like you might not want to do that, if just for me, And that brings me back to the question I kind of posed earlier, is she just manipulating Max?
I don't know at this point. At this point in the movie, I don't know. I have my own views at the end of the movie.
Okay.
But at this point in the movie, it's very questionable.
Yeah, because like I think that scene at the end does kind of clarify it, even though a lot of people still to this day are like, what? Like, what happens? What happened there? But I think it does clarify it at the end. And I think that's why you needed that scene. But right here in this moment, you do kind of feel like maybe she is just manipulating him as well. I feel like, though, out of all the female protagonists, you know, speaking of Jackie Brown, that Tarantino has brought us, Jackie feels like one of the most successful. Like, well, realistically successful. You know, Kill Bill would give us a whole different female protagonist, you know. But she has her desires. You know, Jackie has her desires and motivations out there for us. You know, we know what she's doing. They aren't from a place of anger or jealousy.
Right.
She's powerful. And she's figured out that she can manipulate all these men around her in a way where she comes out on top. She doesn't even.
Good for her.
Yeah, and she doesn't even have to fucking pull a trigger in this movie.
No.
To kill Ordell. We'll get to in the end. But and also what's really great about this character is she doesn't have to do it with her sexuality.
Yes, that's amazing.
Yeah, you kind of, like I said, it's questionable with Max at first. You do kind of question it.
Right.
But, you know, she really doesn't use her sexuality about that.
No, definitely not.
She goes out to dinner here in a little bit with Ray. So you do kind of think maybe she is doing it, but she's not, because Ray's more interested in Ordell.
Right.
He's just interested in getting Ordell.
Right.
As you can tell. But I feel like the one person she doesn't fully manipulate is Max. So that's my reading. It comes more at the end of the movie. Right. Is why I get that. But because I think there are true feelings there. You know, everything Max does in this movie, he does for her.
Right.
And it's by choice. He really does not have to involve himself in this.
No, he does not.
Because it's questionable whether he accidentally stumbled upon her at the mall.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, or
I was like, did
he was kind of there, you know?
Did she tell him she was going to be there and he just stumbled upon her?
Yeah, because they even have that little back and forth when she says Max, you know, when she sees him in the food court where she's like, she kind of knowingly kind of says, yeah, you just kind of walked past me. like he was pretending to not see her.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of, it's cute. Man.
It is cute.
It's lovely.
The flirting.
Yes.
Without flirting kind of thing.
Yeah, it's, like I said, you know, a lot of people come down on Tarantino a lot for not writing romance into his movies and stuff like this. But I think out of 2 movies, we've seen it a lot.
Right.
You know, like I said, Honey Bunny and Ringo in that fucking first movie, you know, and in this movie, definitely Max and Jackie.
Yeah.
You know, so I think he's capable of romance. It's just, it's not the whole story.
And it's not needed.
It's not needed. It's just nice that these characters have that.
Right.
But I do have to ask you, because we discussed it in Pulp Fiction. We kind of brushed on it there. And so I'm going to ask you again after Jackie Brown, how do you feel about the female representation here in this movie?
Oh, I think it's awesome. Like she's strong, she's well-spoken, and she is not scared of these men. She is not going to let these men manipulate her. She's going to get to them first because she knows she's smarter than them.
And I feel like this is his first like foray into that. And I think without Jackie Brown, I don't know if he would have Kill Bill, you know, later on, because Kill Bill, like I said, is a whole other badass woman over here, you know. But I think Jackie Brown was his first like dip into that, because like, here's the thing about Tarantino movies is, yes, the women are sexy.
Right.
And stuff, but it feels like he goes out of his way not to over sexualize them.
Right. Because Jackie, most of the time she's wearing her flight attendant uniform.
Yeah. The most undressed she gets is she's in a long shirt.
Right.
Later on, yeah.
And yes, she's sexy.
My God.
He shows her legs.
Pam Grier is so fucking hot in this movie.
Yes.
Jesus.
But she doesn't have to. But what I love about this is she doesn't have to use her sexuality to get over on these men.
No.
She's using her intelligence.
And from here on, she doesn't. Or the women usually don't in these movies.
Yeah.
from here on out. Like we talked about Pulp Fiction, where it was very much just the women seemed like tag-alongs. Even Mia was almost more of just a hood ornament for the guys.
Right.
You know, a trophy wife, like you said.
And I gotta say, so I know we're talking about Jackie, but I'm gonna go back to Melanie. It feels weird to me because Melanie is sexual. And so to me, in these movies, she feels out of place because the women are not sexual beings in these movies. Like they're not.
Yeah.
And Melanie is. So it's almost out of place to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not because it makes sense in the movie, but like, I don't know how to explain it.
But I do feel like, no, it's fine. It's fine. You're making complete sense. But I do feel like, as characters, even though they do feel like just tag-alongs, they don't ever feel over the top sexualized.
Right.
Maybe their feet. But
Right.
but as far as like, we have not seen a breast
Right.
in these movies yet. We've seen scantily clad breasts, but we've not seen a breast yet.
And I don't even think that any of the women are scantily clad because Melanie's just wearing a swimsuit top.
Yeah, you're right. You know, because, and the reason I am bringing this up, because this is one of the biggest issues people have with Tarantino movies, is they call him misogynist.
No.
I don't feel it. And I'm really trying to get the feeling of that, because some people are like, well, these women have to deal with men. And so I was like, but don't women have to deal with men on a daily basis like this?
Right.
Like, because Jackie is having to deal with all these dumbasses around her.
Right.
Even Max, not that Max is a dumbass, it's just he's googly eyed. And in this scene, she's like, whoa, you're fucking quitting your business over me? Because she asked him, you know, when did you decide that? And he was like, Thursday. And she was like, oh, the time you got me out of prison.
Right.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, okay, don't do that.
Yeah, so she's dealing with that on top of these, Ordell and the fucking cops. So she's dealing with all these men and stuff like that. And I feel like that's not misogynistic.
It's not.
I don't even feel like Pulp Fiction was very misogynistic, as much as you just had these women. And I'm not saying you proved your point last week, you know, when you said, no, they're not powerful. They're
right.
They're almost hood ornaments here. But at the same time, they don't feel over-sexualized, and they just feel like women having to deal with these fucking male chauvinistic assholes. And
any misogyny that you may have thought that there was in Pulp Fiction, not you, but people thought was in Pulp Fiction, that is completely stomped out in Jackie Brown.
Yes. And you know, I told you he took a break between Pulp Fiction and this. It's a very slight break. He takes more of a break between Jackie Brown and Kill Bill than he does with Pulp Fiction and Jackie Brown. You know, I think he only took like 3 years here. But like, it's not the same movie over and over again like people like to say.
Right.
You know, and it's not the same characters over and over again like people like to say. He does learn more. And I think here going forward, the women are much more powerful figures than they were in Pulp Fiction.
Oh, yeah. Because you would think in society that this would be a man pulling all this wool over everybody's eyes, like to women or other men.
Yeah.
But he puts Jackie in here and she's fucking everybody around. And she's not using her sexuality to do it. She's using her brains. And that's very powerful to me. That's what we want.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like some of the people that attack it usually say, you know, well, in his movies. And again, this might be kind of the same thing Spike Lee was going with. Just because he's a white man, he can't write the N-word. His characters cannot say the N-word in his movies. I feel like just because he's a man, he can't write women for some people. You know, they feel like, no, he's not allowed to do that because, you know, when he writes them, you know, because one of the biggest things people pull out is, well, most of the violence in Tarantino's films is directed at the women.
No, it's not.
And again, I'm not trying, I'll get to your point. I'm not trying to mansplain anything, because that's one of the first things that happens to people when they try to explain their viewpoint of this. It's like, oh, well, you're just a fucking dude, bro, explaining women. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm just explaining how I feel about these characters.
Right.
But like, I feel like even if, I'll give you that the the violence is directed towards women in most of these movies. Yeah. Brittany's shaking her head.
I'm not seeing this.
That's the wonder of having you on this podcast.
Right.
Because if it was just another dude I'm talking to, this would fucking get just washed down the kitchen sink.
Okay, I'm not seeing. Okay, Pulp Fiction. What violence was there towards these women? She gives her a shot of adrenaline to save her fucking life.
I mean, I guess Rosanna Arquette's her character maybe, you know, but again, I didn't see Eric Stoltz beating Rosanna Arquette, so I'm not exactly 100% sure.
And the only time in Jackie Brown that violence towards women is even mentioned is when Ordell's talking about Melanie and fucking beating her up to get her to do what he wants, but he never touches her in this movie.
I mean, you did forget the whole Lewis scene here.
No.
Okay.
No. That's
okay.
He whatever. Lewis does whatever. I'm not going to give it away, whatever. But Lewis does whatever. But no women are being hit in this movies, and if they die, other people have fucking died in this movie too. Men have died in this movie. The first person that dies in this movie is a man. Yeah,
which this is the lowest body count of any Tarantino movie.
Right. So you can't say that it's just against women and that it's misogynistic when just as many or more men fucking die than women. I could see you saying that if only women died.
I'm so glad that's coming out of a woman's mouth on this fucking podcast.
If only women died, then yeah, I would say that.
Yeah.
But that's not happening. No woman is being beat. They may allude to that.
Well, I think it goes back to the point I had on Pulp Fiction, which wasn't necessarily a good point for the Pulp Fiction movie, but where I was saying that the women character more feel like they're dealing with this male-dominated society.
Right.
I really think Tarantino movies really display that unbalanced like societal things, the sexism in society. I think he really does display it in his movies.
Right.
These people are not equal. The men are not equal to the women in these movies. And I think that's a reflection of what life is.
Right. And I'm going to go back to Melanie. Okay. Ordell says that he would just slap her across his face to get her to do what he wants or whatever. He doesn't do it in the movie, but he talks about it, right? But to me, this is kind of the same thing as the N-word, okay? Ordell as a character who has multiple women and he houses them, he feeds them, and he fucks them, okay? That's how he would be in life.
Yes.
That is exactly how he would be in life, is he would abuse his women to get them to do what he wants.
I think
because he sees women as property.
Yeah. And I think it kind of goes back to a little something that like I think people are dealing with now where like we are getting good representation in movie of females and gays and stuff like that. But at the same time, some of these movies that come out don't feel, and I'm not saying not every movie does not have to be realistic.
Right.
But it feels like it's dressed up to where, oh, that's a perfect world that I'm watching in this movie that would not actually happen in real life.
Right.
And to me, it has the opposite effect on me. I don't get it doesn't feel empowering to me to watch these things. It just it makes me more depressed about the world I fucking live in.
Right.
Whereas this movie, Jackie Brown, you know, it's a more realistic approach about the unbalances of that shit.
Right.
And what women could possibly do, because how much power they really do hold.
Right.
Because Jackie Brown is the most powerful person in this entire fucking movie.
Oh, yeah.
Whether her character really does know that. You know, she really knows it at the end, especially when she puts on the literal power suit that she puts on there in a little while.
Yeah. So to me, it's not misogynistic at all.
All right. I'm just so glad you're saying it and not me, because that's the problem. Is like I can tell you my reading on these characters and stuff, and it would just be washed away because it doesn't feel good coming from me.
Right.
Just like if I was like this, not that I think this, but like if I was to say, well, I think everybody should use the N-word, feels like Feels terrible coming from a white man.
Right.
You know,
Just sit down and shut up and let the people talk. White men, just sit down and shut the fuck up.
white cis dudes do not need to. We all know the opinion of the white male cis dude.
Just shut the fuck up.
We all know your opinions.
Yes.
That's why it's so exciting to get your opinion.
Right.
Nobody wants to hear mine.
No.
Anyway.
No, we don't. Anyway. So Jackie is now doing the trial run for the money exchange for the $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
She gets off the plane and is stopped by the detectives. They go through her stuff. And then Jackie is at a food court at the mall waiting on her exchange girl to show up. The girl shows up. Her name is Sharonda. And she is ragged and cracked the fuck out.
He does the complete opposite of what she has.
Right.
Well, that's the problem with Ordell. He doesn't really listen to anybody.
No.
Like, again, just back at the Lewis thing. Like, maybe if he listened to Lewis and did not send Melanie to do this with Lewis, it may have worked out a little better. I mean, Jackie is still playing him, you know, because she's told the cops that he's bringing this money, whereas she told him to bring this money to where she can steal the money and then it's not missing, even though Max Cherry does bring up a good point. $500,000 is always going to be missed.
Right. So, and you're a little concerned when Sharonda shows up. You're like, is she going to fuck this up?
Yeah.
Like, really? Is she going to fuck this up? But Jackie is so fucking perfect in this scene. She's just smoking her cigarette. She's like, put the bag down next to my bag and you can eat your food.
Yeah.
She gets up and leaves, and Max is there, and he's watching Sharonda. So Jackie goes to see Ordell, and she is pissed because she wants things to go as she had planned it.
Mm-hmm.
So they make a new plan that she will meet up with a lady in the dressing room where the LAPD can't see her do the trade.
And this is how she's almost led him into doing this.
Yes.
So she can get that money.
It's because she's making it seem like, kind of seem like it's his idea and that she's helping him.
That's what Ordell's fucking downfall is.
Yes.
He thinks he's so
control.
smart, and he is he's street smart. I think Melanie even says it earlier. You know, he may be street smart, but he's kind of a dumb fuck when it comes to this shit.
What did she say? Like he can't even read or something like that?
Oh, she says, you know, what does it tell you about him if he reads the numbers off when he's fucking reading something? He mouths them.
Oh yeah, he talks when he reads or whatever.
Yeah. So you might be feeling this. I'm wondering. The word restraint comes to mind when you talk about Jackie Brown. This is Tarantino at his most restrained. You know, this is a down to earth Tarantino.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to go. You know, you would call it a more mature film, and it's something that you usually don't get with a director until later on, you know, like 4 or 5 movies into their works where you start going, okay, look, we're getting a more mature. And I just love it. It goes back to that middle finger where he's like fucking, well, here, I can do a fucking mature film right now, right out the fucking gate. What do you, next movie, I'll blow your fucking mind.
Right.
You know? A lot of people don't necessarily look to Jackie Brown, even though this movie wasn't like a bomb or anything. Like this movie made tons of fucking money. I think it cost $12 million to make, and it made like $72 fucking million at the box office.
Dang.
Not the powerhouse Pulp Fiction was, but Pulp Fiction is a fucking pop culture phenomenon.
Right.
This is Jackie Brown, and I feel like people don't look at this movie as much when they talk about Tarantino's style. You know,
right.
Where he is capable of doing a mature movie. I think it shows that he's capable of mixing the maturity and the fantastic in his movie universes when he does Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Right. So Jackie goes to have dinner with Ray, one of the detectives, and he has a lot of questions. And Jackie is definitely playing both sides, but only giving up bits of information that she chooses to give.
Yeah.
Because she's manipulating the situation. Then she meets with Max and tells him that she told Ray there's only going to be $50,000 this round, and she's going to hide half the $500,000.
Yeah.
Max says there is a way too much to that could go wrong.
And that's why I say I don't think she's really manipulating Max at all, because she's letting him in on both sides of what she's doing.
Right.
You know, she's fucking this person over and she's fucking this person over.
Right.
Yeah.
But at first, she's only telling them like Ordell's side. She didn't really tell him the cop side. And
Right.
now she's telling him that. So I was like, oh, she is. Yeah. This is her middle ground. This is her safe space. Max is her safe space.
And it's nice. I think it is really why Max is here. Like in the, you know, because you do have the love story, but you also have her having a safe spot, you know, that does help with the, with letting us, the audience, know what she's thinking.
Right, right. So Ordell calls Jackie and tells her that Simone split on him, took his $10,000, and now she's going to be meeting with Melanie in the dressing room.
Yes.
And Jackie is not happy about this.
God damn it, Ordell. He has nobody trustworthy except for fucking Lewis. And that's what really fucks him over here. Because if he had someone more trustworthy and he let them in, like if he had let Lewis in on what's going on with Jackie, because he doesn't. Yeah. Like maybe Lewis could have had a fucking better idea than like she's trying to fuck you over. Right. But he can't have something that's not his idea. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's another problem. And of course, as Ray Nicolette here, we have the wonderful Michael Keaton, man. Batman, fucking Beetlejuice himself is in this goddamn movie. Not doing Beetlejuice. That'd be kind of weird. Yeah. He really gives a fucking phenomenal performance here, even though, again, he's not in this movie like too much. Right. Like he has little bits and pieces, but every scene is fucking gold. Now, Keaton really thought he wasn't right for the role. He wasn't the right fit for the role. He kept fucking saying that to Tarantino. Oh, it was like the whole time they were shooting this, Keaton was like trying to tell Tarantino he's not good at this. This is not good. This is not the role for me. Because this isn't the character Michael Keaton would normally play. Right. But again, Tarantino, fantastic casting. Tarantino insisted that he was perfect, and luckily he convinced him because I love Ray's character, man. He's such a good, like Max says, he's having fun being a cop. Right. Like he's not necessarily, he does plant the drugs on her. Right. But at the same time, he's more concerned with getting Ordell. You know, that was just a means to the end for him, which, you know, we all know cops kind of do that, but more than that. But like he's just having fun being a cop. Now during this, during the making of this movie, Universal was beginning production on the film Out of Sight, directed by Steven Soderbergh, another Elmore Leonard property. Now that takes place in the same universe as this, and there was going to be a scene with Ray Nicolette where he would have to show up in just a split scene. Now, they waited to see who Tarantino would cast. And when Keaton turned up in the role, they asked if he could reprise it again. And he agreed. Now, Miramax and Tarantino own the rights to this character, as their film was made first. But Tarantino insisted, he was very insistent that they allow the character in Out of Sight without compensation to Tarantino or Miramax. So that's why in Out of Sight, there's just this small little scene where Michael Keaton's in the movie. Right. He shows up as Ray Nicolette. It's awesome. It's great. So the real money exchange is happening this time. Jackie gets off the plane. She meets with Ray. He marks the bills with a green felt tip pen. You know what? I've never heard Sharpies called felt tip pens until Pulp Fiction, and he uses it in this movie too. And I'm like, I've heard them called that a lot. I guess I never have. I call them Sharpies or highlighters or whatever they are. And she has hidden the $500,000 in this bag, like deep in this bag, and he does not find it, which she's very thankful for. Yes. So Melanie and Lewis are running late for this exchange. And he is pissed because she is being a total bitch to him. Like I said, just the little things Robert De Niro does as the character here. I love how he's slicked back his hair and gotten all nice for this. Like he's dressed up. Yes. He's
slicked his hair back. He's
Yeah,
like,
I'm about to do the dang. It's just so funny. But he has fucking Melanie working here. And these two are like a comedic pair for the rest of the time they're together on screen.
Oh,
'Cause
yes.
it is just poor Robert De Niro dealing with fucking Bridget Fonda's Melanie through this fucking whole ordeal.
Oh, it's great. So Jackie gets there to the department store or whatever, and she tries on this awesome suit. Oh my God.
It is. Is there anything Pam Grier could wear that wouldn't be fucking flattering to her?
That's true.
It's a black, what is this? A two-piece suit or something?
It's a 3-piece suit.
Yeah.
Black with a white undershirt. And it's awesome.
It's almost the same thing that like Jules and Vincent wear, only in female form. And I love it because it's a power suit. Again, throughout this movie, it's the same thing as in Pulp Fiction. Tarantino is following that little diagram, which again, I can't remember the director who started this, but like where you see the characters wearing what they wear as like suits of armor.
Right.
And it's very much like that throughout this whole movie.
That makes sense because she's making a very big power move here.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, she puts on a literal power suit here.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, this is on now. Yeah. But now what they show here, like I said earlier, is real money. The $500,000 that you see is real. So that's what a $500,000 looks like, everybody.
Dang.
Yeah. And that's the kind of attention to detail Tarantino does. There's so many little things in his movies. You could watch these things and get it like in Pulp Fiction, the fucking kangaroo. The little baby kangaroo. I put the watch on the kangaroo. In that movie, you just little things, man. It's so good. Now, for a promotion for the movie, Tarantino and Pam Grier got together on MTV. And they did like a commercial where they did a promotion where they gave away this money to a lucky person for like a contest for Christmas.
$500,000?
Yeah, they gave away $500,000, which
what the hell?
Yeah, it's included on the bonus features of my DVD set I have of Jackie Brown. Which, yes, you guys, I still work off a DVD sometimes, just because I don't know. I'm like that. I'm a special features whore.
Yeah.
And the DVD I got has a shit ton of special features. But anyway, which, by the way, I mentioned they did this on Christmas. This movie dropped on December 25th in theaters.
Oh, wow.
Making Jackie Brown.
A Christmas
movie. Jackie Brown is a motherfucking Christmas movie.
I'm here for it.
I am totally here for it as well. So see, we haven't forgot the holidays altogether. It is truly a Tarantino Christmas.
Right. So then Jackie's in the dressing room and she exchanges bags with Melanie. Mm-hmm. Then she puts the $500,000 in a different bag and just leaves it there.
Yeah.
She walks all the way through the store and is looking for Ray. Oh, but she stops to pay for her suit or whatever. She looks distraught. Very distraught.
Yeah.
And this was so, and this is acting on top of acting. This is like meta acting or whatever it's called.
It's hard for people. It's hard for an actor to pull this shit off because basically she's acting like she's acting.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was so good that I was confused. Until a little bit later. Then I was like, oh, okay, she did that on purpose. Anyway.
Yeah, because we are let in on what she has planned. Yes, we are let in that she's getting the money and stuff. But the precise little details of how, we aren't really let in on that.
No, definitely not. So she goes to like the food court or whatever, and she yells out and says that Melanie burst into the dressing room and took all the money from her because she's framing Melanie. Then we get to see this whole scene from Melanie and Lewis's point of view.
Which, like I said, I think the reason why we start doing this non-linear shit is because Quentin Tarantino could just not help himself.
He's like, I gotta do it.
I gotta do this.
But I love this.
Well, yeah, because you get to see it from different points of views. And I love it because you get to see it from Max's point of view here in a little bit.
Yeah.
And it just gives you every little fine detail of what this is and how it's going down.
And all the parts to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they go into the department store and they are fighting the whole fucking time.
God damn.
Melanie goes back to do the exchange And Lewis sees Max. This is important.
Yes.
And then Melanie comes out and Lewis takes the bag from her. Then she's making fun of him the whole time because he can't remember where he parked. And he tells her to stop. He's like, stop. Just fucking shut the fuck up. And he's like, say one more thing. Like, really, just say it. And she goes to say something else.
Fucking blows her away.
And he fucking shoots her twice in the parking lot of this mall. And then he gets in the van.
Yeah, because I love it. He looks up and he's like, oh, see? Right where I told you it was.
Right.
He just fucking had it. And here's the thing about why Ordell has fucked himself here.
Yes.
He saw Max talk to Jackie. He does not really pursue that. I think he mentions it to Jackie a little bit, but that's about fucking it.
Right. He's so cocky.
Because he could have told Lewis.
Yes.
He could have told Lewis, hey, be on the lookout for this motherfucker.
Right.
Lewis just sees him and assumes, what the fuck is that guy here? Like,
right. He just thought it was a weird coincidence.
Yes. They all just fall into Jackie's plan here.
Dumbass man.
Yes. And as much as I love Bridget Fonda, who, by the way, Bridget Fonda is the daughter of, I think, Peter Fonda and stuff like that. She is watching Crazy Mary or whatever that movie is earlier on in the movie, but that has nothing to do with this. But
okay.
Melanie, the character, is actually modeled after the actress Candice Ryerson, who also starred in 70s exploitation films like the films Candy Stripe, Nurses, Mama's Dirty Girls, and Summer School Teachers. It pins everybody. I don't even know where you could find these movies, but I've seen them. But I'm almost happy for poor Lewis here.
Yes.
Poor fucking faithful Lewis, man. He acts like he's been fucking Ordell. Like, why is he so faithful to him? He's so loyal.
Maybe they were in prison together.
Maybe they're so fucking loyal. But it's such a fucking unexpected thing, really. When he does decide to just fucking blow Melanie away. Man.
You do not expect that.
No, because you have a little split piece of yourself that's like, God, he just fucking shoot her. Because, we've gone through, we haven't really touched on it because, again, this is a hangout movie.
Right.
This point of the hangout between Melanie and Lewis is rough. He has to fucking drag her out of the bathroom to get her. She's like, I'm almost fucking ready. And then,
get the fuck
yeah,
out of
and then
here.
he's in this fucking like shitty, like, surfer van and she's fucking listening to fucking, what is it, Paul Revere and the Raiders at like high ass volume.
He's like, can we turn this down?
He's just so pissed off. But when it happens, it catches you off guard.
Right.
Sylvester Stallone, Rocky himself, almost played this role.
Oh, that's weird.
As Lewis, which is extremely against type. I couldn't imagine Sylvester Stallone blowing some chick away because he's annoyed. But he did turn down the role, and according to rumor, he almost played stuntman Mike as well. But more on that next week. Funny thing is, De Niro and Stallone would appear in Copland, a film that dropped the same year as Jackie Brown. I think it actually came out. Did it come out in 98 or 97? I can't remember, but it's kind of interesting trivia.
So now we see this whole thing from Max's point of view. He watches Lewis and Melanie walk in and walk out, then watches Jackie leave. Then he goes in and he's the one that grabs the bag that she left in the dressing room with the $500,000, which I did not expect.
No, because basically, okay, she's got the $500,000. She created a bag, a faux bag and stuff like that earlier, which is some books at the bottom of this, like, because she got the $10,000, didn't she?
She puts $40,000 she puts $40,000 on top of these books. Nobody's looking inside of this. And then she puts the towels on top of it. And then she puts 10 grand on top of that and tells Melanie, I got a little extra for you. Yeah. Basically. And Melanie stuffs that in her pants.
Yeah, because she's basically like, but what's funny is, Melanie doesn't, because I think she's trying to frame Melanie, put it all on this girl. Right. And so that way she has a clear getaway, while Ordell is dealing with that. But other things fucking fall to pieces.
Right. But not
Yeah.
But
it
no.
still just works out in her favor.
So Lewis goes to get Ordell from the strip club that he's at, because he had said earlier on, he said, like, I'm going to be as far away from this as possible.
Yeah, I'm going to go hang out at the titty bar.
Right. Well, Lewis tells him that he shot Melanie. And Ordell is going on, and then he says if he had to do it, then he had to do it.
Yeah.
He was a little upset. He's like, my surfer girl. My surfer girl. But he wants to make sure that she's really dead. He's like, did you kill her? Are you sure she was dead?
She's pretty much dead.
She's
pretty fucking. Yeah, she's basically dead.
Right. So then Ordell goes through the bag and he is pissed because his money is missing. So not only is he missing $500,000, he is also missing $10,000. Mm-hmm. So he only has $40,000. And he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Ordell thinks that Melanie and Lewis tried to set him up. He thinks that Lewis and Melanie set him up. Mm-hmm. Well, Lewis pulls over and Ordell says, well, he pleads his case, and he was like, no. We did not set this up. We're not fucking with you. Because he wasn't. He was doing his job.
Lewis literally, he gets the short end of the stick here. He was literally the most loyal person to fucking Ordell.
Yes.
Even Melanie was really a piece of shit, and he kind of did Ordell a favor by shooting her.
Right. So Ordell puts two and two together, and he says, okay, this has to be Jackie.
Yeah.
He says she wants him to know that she ripped him off. And he then says that she must have given it to somebody else before Melanie got there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's kind of on the right track.
Yeah.
And Lewis says that he saw Max there. And then Ordell's pissed because Lewis didn't know that was a bad sign.
Well, that's the thing. And so, like, Ordell did not let him in on what he saw earlier.
Right.
He could have said something about, hey, the fucking bail bondsman, if you see that motherfucker lurking around, some shit is going wrong.
Right.
Because Max even says, he was like, I saw him. I just
Not
didn't.
Max.
Oh, sorry.
Lewis.
Lewis even says, I saw him. I just didn't fucking think anything of it.
Right. Because there was nothing for him to think.
Yes. Ordell has fucked himself.
Yes. So they argue back and forth, and Ordell ends up shooting him twice.
Which is, again, another thing you did not expect. No. I didn't think he was going to shoot him here.
I know. I was like listening to it or whatever, and I'm like, wait, that's blood.
And not to mention it's Robert De Niro. So you're like, holy fuck, Samuel Jackson just shot Robert De Niro. Right. We got to mention the music. We haven't mentioned the music yet. We talked about it earlier before we started the show. Just like Pulp Fiction, the music takes place of the score. Every track you hear here, even the instrumentals, is a song. The instrumentals being from the movies like Coffee and Foxy Brown. Like a lot of tracks from Coffee are used in this movie. Pam Grier's earlier roles. You have Bobby Womack, you got the Delphonics, Smokey Robinson, my personal favorite, Strawberry Letter 23 by Brothers Johnson, that plays when he blows away poor fucking Beaumont. And even the Longtime Woman. And now during the court scene and the jail scene where Jackie's getting out, a Longtime Woman plays over the scenes and stuff like that. Now that's a Pam Grier song. That's her singing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she did that. I can't remember exactly what fucking movie that was. Was that Friday Foster? I can't remember. But she recorded that song back in the day, and Tarantino's just like, well, let's fucking use that. Like, and here's the thing. Like, if you watch these movies, and it's really hard to describe this to you guys, but if you watch these movies, like the songs, even though they're from other things, they fit the scene.
Oh, so well.
They always fit the fucking scene.
Jackie's at the station with Ray, and he's pissed that she went shopping beforehand. He's like, why did you need to do that?
She's like, well, I saw this suit and I really liked it.
Right. She says she got there early, and her plan was to just try on the suit. And then Melanie burst into the dressing room and took the bag. And then someone killed her for it. Mm-hmm. And they argue, and he says that he hopes she didn't do anything stupid. And he walks out. He walks back in and says that Lewis is dead now, and they need to find Ordell. He does tell Jackie that they have nothing on her. They don't. They have
Yeah,
none
yeah,
of this
they have nothing to hold her
because they found the marked bills on Melanie.
Yeah.
So they know that she stole it, and Jackie set that up.
And did she know Melanie was going to? Well, I mean, I know she probably knew that Ordell was going to kill Melanie.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know if she knew that fucking Lewis was going to do that. But then you're like, did she know Lewis was going to fucking just blow
I don't think so.
It's wild. It's wild. But
she knew Melanie was going to end up dead or caught with this fucking money.
Yeah, I do get the feeling that Ray kind of knows something's up.
Right.
I'm pretty sure Ray knows what she's kind of doing here.
But they have nothing on
but
her.
At the same time, again, Max tells her earlier, and I think that's why she feels comfortable doing this and knowing that Ray knows what she's doing, because Max tells her earlier, he's having fun being a cop, and he's more excited about getting Ordell than he is the money.
Right.
So he doesn't give a shit about the money. He just gives a shit about getting Ordell.
Right.
And she gives him that at the end,
Right. And he leaves her with but they better find Ordell before Ordell finds her.
Yes.
Kind of warning her, like,
yeah, he's gonna look for you.
Yeah, you're getting fucked. Like, now we're with Ordell, and he tries to get a hold of Max.
Uh-huh.
Max finally calls him back later and says he has the $10,000 that he owes him from Jackie's bond.
Yes.
Because they released her sentencing.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever. Her case got dropped. So he gets his $10,000 back. Ordell says that he knows that he helped Jackie and he wants his money no matter what story Jackie tells. He says that he will kill her if she runs, or they will go to prison together because he will rat her out. He's like, I'm going to name her as an accomplice.
Yeah. Still fucking himself over here. If Ordell just would have just cut loss and fucking took off, Right. But again, he still sees this as his way out of this.
Right. $500,000.
And, well, again, like Max says, $500,000 will always be missed. And that's kind of what's happening here.
Oh, for sure.
And she knows that, and she knows what's going to happen. Like that's the crazy part,
So Max goes to see Ordell and gives him his $10,000. Remember that.
Yes.
He gives him $10,000.
Yes.
Which is needed. He then says that Jackie wants to meet up with Ordell herself and explain things. Max tells him that they did all of this to protect his money. And Max says that she's waiting at his office. And he goes into more detail about this.
Yeah, again, we're hanging out. We're doing some more hanging out here. Yeah.
There's a lot of explanation, but he makes it seem like they're protecting him.
Yeah.
Ordell and Max leave to go to the office, and Jackie is sitting in the dark when they get there. Ordell walks right in.
Which is another dumb move.
Like, why is he walking in the dark? He's like,
he just
hey, Jackie.
Yeah, because it's that fucking facade he puts on, and that thing where he thinks he has one over on everybody. He still thinks it.
Right. So he walks right in. Ray shows up from another door and comes in also, and Jackie yells that he has a gun. So Ray shoots him and kills him. Jackie says, I gave him to you before he got to me. Which is true. She did.
Yeah. Which again, just she fucking does this because you kind of think maybe she's going to kill Ordell here because she's sitting there at the desk kind of practicing her draw and stuff like that. I love that. But like. And
we didn't know Ray was there.
Yeah. Like, you don't actually know. Like I said, you're not let in on every single little detail. Here.
Right. And Ray also says, does he have the marked bills on him? And he did that $10,000.
Yes. So this was all part of this fucking plan.
Yes.
And I think the plan was to kill Ordell. I think it was to get rid of him. But to have Ray do it. So Ray would be satisfied.
Ray wanted to,
because he like we made clear, he more cared about bagging Ordell than fucking money or anything.
Because I got the impression that he knew.
Yeah, well, like, you also see Michael Keaton's character, which again, Michael Keaton does a wonderful performance because he lets you know as the audience that he knows what the fuck this is.
Right.
He gets it because he's sitting there looking at it. He kind of looks at her, looks at him, and is like, well, I still got him.
Right.
Because that's what he cares about.
Right. So here we go.
Yeah.
Sometime later, there's no time frame.
Yeah.
Jackie goes to see Max, and she says that he didn't take enough money because he had like mailed her the money, and he took 10% out, and he refuses.
What did he take, his like fee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he said, I'm a bail bondsman. I only take 10%, and that's what I took. And she was like, you could have taken more. Like, you were my partner in this.
Yeah.
And he refuses to take more. And she says she's going to Spain, and she invites him to go. But he says no, he's got a business to run. So she gets up to leave, and they kiss. And in the middle of kissing, the phone rings. And he answers it. And then Jackie leaves.
It's such a this ending, man. It's so poignant, and it's left ambiguous. You know, it's up for interpretation of what exactly happens next after this.
Right.
I do like the shot of her driving down the road, because then this is the moment of the film where you're like, oh, she really did care for him like a lot throughout this entire thing. They really were in love. But Max's character, you know, he kind of chooses his life now.
Right.
You know,
and he instantly regrets it because he's the person on the phone. He's like, can I call you back?
Can I call you back? I have to go fucking cry.
But I think he was going to go after her.
Do you think? And that's why it's left ambiguous, because I think Tarantino, because fuck, I about called her Jackie Brown, but Pam Grier and Robert Forster have said that Quentin Tarantino was a little confused at how to end the movie.
Right.
But the book ends ambiguous.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, ambiguously. It ends kind of almost exactly like this, if I'm remembering right. I haven't read the book in many years, but like it ends kind of like this. So, and he's like, well, I can't just fucking end it the way I want to end it or anything like that. I can't give this movie an ending. I have to leave it like this. And here at the end, it is left up to you. Maybe he does go after her here.
Right.
You know, maybe he does decide to go after her because he does regret it. Like you said, he definitely regrets it here, what he's done. And so maybe he does go after her. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he realizes, you know, I'm too old for love. You know,
we're going to look at this. We're going to look at this.
No, we're doing this.
In a good way.
I think Pam Grier said a funnier ending would have been like if he goes with her and then like fucking and then he turns into a chatterbox and she gets annoyed and leaves him. But no, I like it being ambiguous. I like it because I feel like any ending here would have been too wrapped up. Now, Jackie Brown was released Christmas Day in '97 and went on to gross a total of $74.7 million against its $12 million budget. And while it didn't exactly set the world on fire like last week's Pulp Fiction, it proved Tarantino could make a more mature film in a time where people were attacking him for glorified violence and doubting him as a filmmaker. You know, calling him maybe he's a 2-film wonder, expecting him to fall on his face. And he fucking didn't.
Right.
And he never has. Even with movies like The Hateful Eight, it wasn't as well received by a lot of fans and stuff like that, and critics, because I love that movie, but it's its own thing.
Right.
But like, even with that movie, he still fucking made his fucking money. He still turns out these hits. But sorry. But of course, Pam Grier and Jackson were nominated for Golden Globe Awards, and Robert Forster was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. By the way, you guys, look up Robert Forster if you're not familiar with his career. He was a fucking amazing actor. A lot of these people from these exploitation movies and stuff like this, and a lot of these B movies, are just fucking phenomenal actors, and it's stuff you're missing if you're not following them. So go check that out. But anyway. Yeah. But Jackie Brown remains Tarantino's most underrated flick, in my opinion. It doesn't pop up much when people start talking Tarantino, and while it did receive a lot of praise in '97, it does get overshadowed by his later films to me. You know, Kill Bill comes out, and this movie just nobody talks about it after Kill Bill. But enough about what I think about Jackie Brown, because we all know I fucking love this. How did you feel about 1997's Jackie Brown?
I freaking loved it, man. This shit was awesome. Women empower me.
And this is kind of your first hangout movie.
Yeah. I like it.
How do you feel about that style?
I liked it.
Yeah, because
just chill.
It
I
is.
like a chill
It is a
movie.
chill pill. You know, we came right out of the fucking fire gate with Pulp Fiction, I feel like, this
Right.
month. And that was just energy out the fucking asshole in that fucking movie. And you're popping around and shit and so excited and stuff. And it's like Jackie Brown is here to kind of it lets you chill out a little bit after that. Like I said, it doesn't get as much talk as the other movies, and not out of the Tarantino flicks, but and I think it really should. If you only saw it once and you didn't care for Jackie Brown, go back and revisit it. Like I said, these hangout movies, they deserve to be rewatched over and over again. They're just movies you can keep watching over and over again. You know, Reservoir Dogs is a good movie, but I don't know if you can really watch it as much as you could Jackie Brown or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But anyway, that is 1997's Jackie Brown. Now, next week, like I said, we're skipping Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2, which was his fourth film, technically. And we're heading into Grindhouse territory. We're getting more of what you're usually expecting out of Night of the Horror File.
Right.
with Death Proof. That's right. We're hitting Death Proof, which is more powerful women, I would argue, with fucking Kurt Russell. We're going to be talking Kurt Russell next week, which you all know my feelings on Kurt Russell. Fucking love Russell. He plays a bad guy, which is fun. It's a good time. But we'll talk more about that next week when A Tarantino Christmas chugs on. I'm Lee Evans saying stay spooky.
And I'm Brittany. Stay horrific.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. To get a hold of us and submit your stories, fan mail, and death threats, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and nightofthehorrorfile.com. Our theme song was written and performed by John Brennan, used with permission. Find John at shopjb.bandcamp.com and at badtechno.com. If you like what you hear, leave a good review wherever you listen to podcasts, and share the show on your social media. See you next week.